Ye Tiance, hurry up and sign the divorce agreement prepared by Mr. Xiao. Ye family cemetery. Assistant son, dressed in a professional short skirt, hurriedly arrived and threw the divorce agreement to the young man with an extraordinary appearance in front of the tomb. Ye Tiance frowned slightly and asked, "Divorce? Why?" Assistant son sneered, "Oh, why don't you have any points in your heart? Xiao is always the most dazzling beauty CEO in Jiangnan City, with a value of hundreds of millions, a figure at the top of the pyramid, and countless pursuers. Looking at you again. Besides having a pair of empty skin bags, you have no money or skills. As a vampire who relies on Mr. Xiao, do you think you are still worthy of this marriage?" Ye Tiance raised his eyebrows and said, "Vampire? Is that what Xiao Qingcheng really thinks?" Assistant son nodded and ruthlessly added, "Except for you who has no self-awareness, everyone around Mr. Xiao thinks the same way." Ye Tiance's eyes drooped lightly. 3 years ago, he returned to Jiangnan City from that place to fulfill his grandfather's engagement with the Xiao family during his lifetime. At that time, the Xiao family was in a desperate situation and almost collapsed. It was he who secretly supported the Xiao family and praised Xiao Qingcheng as the most dazzling beauty CEO in Jiangnan City. In the end, it was exchanged for a divorce agreement. Assistant son continued, "As compensation for divorce, Mr. Xiao has promised you 10 million yuan. You owe Mr. Xiao so much in this marriage, but she treats you with utmost kindness. You should learn to be grateful and sign your name quickly." Ye Tiance's tone cooled down and he said, "Do you want me to be grateful to her? Tell Xiao Qingcheng that if you want me to sign, you can ask her to come and talk to me." Assistant son frowned and said, "What is Mr. Xiao's identity? Can you be a useless person who wants to see him as soon as you want?" Xiao always relied on her own efforts to make it today. With her status, there are countless ways to divorce you. If I can find you privately, I have already considered your feelings very much. Don't push your nose and face. Ye Tiance's cold eyes flickered and he said, "Oh?" In her opinion, choosing the anniversary of my family of 8 and proposing to divorce me in front of their graves, and wanting you to mock me to your heart's content, is just considering my feelings? Huh. Mr. Xiao has lived up to his high position for a long time, even considering others' feelings in such a unique way. That's right, today is the anniversary of the death of Ye Tiance's family of 8. She, Xiao Qingcheng, entrusted someone else to propose a divorce. She chose today and went to the Ye family cemetery. How ironic. At this moment, in the distance, a stunning woman with a cold and stunning expression and an extremely tall figure walked over with a bouquet of flowers in her hand. She placed the flowers in front of one of the tombs and whispered, "Grandpa Yi, I have something to attend to temporarily." Looking at the iceberg woman in front of Grandpa's tomb, Ye Tiance had a mix of flavors. Due to the friendship between the two grandfathers, he and Xiao Qingcheng were engaged to each other since childhood. But 15 years ago, the Yi family suddenly suffered a big fire, and except for himself who was lucky enough to be rescued by his master and fled from Jiangnan City, all other family members were buried in the sea of fire. It was Mr. Xiao who helped take care of the family's affairs, and his kindness was not insignificant. 3 years ago, he returned to Jiangnan City to fulfill his engagement. He was afraid of putting pressure on Xiao Qingcheng, so he spent time with her as an ordinary person and secretly helped the Xiao family. He had originally planned to order Tianlong Group to hold a bidding chamber tomorrow evening, announcing that Xiao Jia was the only winning bidder for the new area development project, winning an order worth 10 billion yuan, and pushing Xiao Qingcheng to the top of Jiangnan City in one fell swoop. And at that time, he didn't have to continue hiding his identity and tell Xiao Qingcheng everything. But the day before, Xiao Qingcheng walked up to Ye Tiance. With a usual cold expression, he said, "I heard what you said earlier. Choosing this time and place to propose a divorce was because I ignored your feelings. It was because I was too busy and forgot about this. That's why assistant son?" Ye Tiance raised his hand and interrupted, "Yes, Mr. Xiao has to entrust someone else even when it comes to divorce. Of course, he's so busy that he's almost ruthless." Xiao Qingcheng could hear his complaints, but she admitted that she was right because she was busy preparing for tomorrow night's bidding chamber, winning the bid from Tianlong Group and receiving a 10 billion order. Moreover, there have been rumors that the chairman of Tianlong Group, Zhao Hailong, can achieve what he is today, but in fact, it all depends on a mysterious figure behind him. Coincidentally, there is news that the adult will appear at the Chamber of Commerce tomorrow evening. She will definitely not miss such a precious opportunity to make friends. She just won't tell Ye Tiance these thoughts because he can't understand them even after saying them. She said coldly, "Since we have reached this point, we must face this result. At least for me personally, I have tried my best to maintain this marriage. Whether it's in front of you or in front of your family's tomb, I have a clear conscience. I hope you can understand my difficulties." Ye Tiance retorted, "What are your concerns? Money? Status? Is it really that important?" Xiao Qingcheng shook his head in disappointment and said, "It's no use telling you, because you'll never understand what I'm really thinking." Ye Tiance self-deprecatingly said, "Yes, I really don't understand you, so I only pour water for you when you're thirsty, cook for you when you're hungry, and make you happy when you're sad." Xiao Qingcheng frowned and said, "Is it meaningful to say these things? What I need has never been what you call thoughtfulness, because you can't afford what I want." At this moment, a distant voice followed suit. "Qingcheng is right. She wants what she wants. You, a low-level commodity, can never afford it." A young man in a white suit walked over. This person is the eldest young master of the Ji family in Jiangnan, Ji Buduan. I have been very close to Xiao Qingcheng recently. Ji Buoduan said softly to Xiao Qingcheng. Didn't we make an appointment to have dinner together later? My car has already parked outside the cemetery. Ye Tiance self-deprecatingly said, oh, so that's the reason for your divorce? The result of 3 years of silent dedication made him completely cold at this moment. A hint of determination flashed in his eyes and he said, I agree to sign. I hope you don't regret it. I signed the divorce agreement cleanly. Ji Buoduan sneered. Do you know? There have been insider reports that Qingcheng will win the bid from Tianlong Group and secure a 10 billion yuan order. When it is announced at the bidding chamber tomorrow night, she will not only be the most dazzling beauty CEO in Jiangnan City, but also in Tianan Province. He poked Ye Tiance's chest with his finger and said arrogantly, and you, a useless person who can't even enter the Chamber of Commerce, deserve to make Qingcheng regret it? Ye Tiance took away Ji Buoduan's hand and said calmly, I ordered Tianlong Group to hold the bidding chamber, and I also ordered Xiao Qingcheng to win the bid. Ji Buoduan laughed and said, why don't you say that Zhao Hailong, the chairman of Tianlong Group and known as the king of Jiangnan, I'll obey your orders? Ye Tiance said calmly, that's right, he does obey me. Ji Buoduan sneered and said, Yi, you really can brag. Let me tell you the truth. The fact that Qingcheng was able to win the bid of Tianlong Group this time is because our Ji family in Jiangnan asked Long Yi to mediate. What's wrong with you? Ye Tiance didn't expect Ji Buoduan to be so shameless. Just as he was about to refute, Xiao Qingcheng scolded, Ye Tiance, you're done? Do you know what you're talking nonsense about? She handed out a bank card and said coldly, this is a compensation of 10 million yuan. When the Chamber of Commerce ends tomorrow night, I will go to the Civil Affairs Bureau early the day after tomorrow to collect my divorce certificate. Ye Tiance didn't even glance at his bank card. I don't want a penny of money. The day after tomorrow, the Civil Affairs Bureau will meet and we won't know each other anymore. Although his words were calm, his tone was unfamiliar as never before. Xiao Qingcheng bit his lip and wanted to say something, but ultimately couldn't speak. He turned around and left with Assistant Sun and Ji Buoduan. Leaving the cemetery, I got into Ji Buoduan's car. Ji Buoduan asked earnestly, Qingcheng, where would you like to go if you have arranged to have dinner together? Xiao Qingcheng said wearily, let's just forget about the meal. Take me back to the company. Ji Buoduan awkwardly said, well, okay. Xiao Qingcheng looked out the car window. In the distance, Ye Tiance was alone in front of the tomb. Loneliness carries a faint sense of desolation. The car started, and his back gradually disappeared from view. Inexplicably, she seemed to feel an important presence in her heart, and this moment gradually disappeared. In front of Grandpa's tombstone, Ye Tiance sighed and said, Grandpa, I have let down your expectations. This marriage is ultimately going to fail. It's good to think about it. Without marriage worries in the future, I will have more energy to investigate the truth about the Yi family fire back then. In fact, over the years, Ye Tiance has always suspected that the big fire at the Yi family back then was not accidental, but someone made it artificially. So after returning to Jiangnan 3 years ago, he has been secretly investigating, and recently he finally got a glimpse. Buzzing. At that moment, his phone vibrated. Answer the phone. Zhao Hailong's flattering voice came from across. Mr. Yi, all invitations from the bidding chamber tomorrow night have been sent out, and the 10 billion yuan investment contract bid that was originally scheduled for Mr. Xiao has also been prepared. Do you think so? Ye Tiance said calmly, you've been bothering, but I've already divorced her. Divorce? Sorry, my subordinate. It wasn't intentional. Zhao Hailong's face turned pale. Despite being the chairman of Tianlong Group and known as the king of Jiangnan, anyone who saw him should respectfully call him the Dragon Lord. But he understood that all of this was secretly given by Ye Tiance 3 years ago. Take it back, just one sentence. Ye Tiance didn't want to say much about this matter, but asked, how was the matter you arranged to investigate? Zhao Hailong quickly said, Mr. Yi, the investigation revealed that there was a fire in the Yi family that year, and there may be some connection between the Ji family and Jiangnan. Jiangnan Ji family? Ye Tiance's pupils contracted, flickering with a cold sensation. Zhao Hailong continued, I have sorted out the relevant information and would like to present it to you in person. Do you think so? Ye Tiance nodded and said, I'm at the Yi family cemetery. Come over. Understood. Ye Tiance just hung up the phone. 2 footsteps could be heard in the distance. Turning her head, she saw a middle-aged woman dressed in gorgeous attire and a young man walking towards her. These 2 people are respectively Xiao Qingcheng's mother Zhang Huilan and her brother Xiaonan. In the past 3 years of marriage, these 2 women have been targeting him a lot. Zhang Huilan walked up and frowned, asking, with the surname Yi, has Qingcheng proposed a divorce to you? Ye Tiance nodded and said, I just signed the divorce agreement. Zhang Huilan breathed a sigh of relief and said, that's great. My family, Qingcheng, has been married to you for 3 years, which can be considered unlucky. Now we finally get rid of you, a useless person. Xiaonan also smiled proudly and said, my sister has regained her singleness, so she can be with Master Ji Buoduan. When we join hands to participate in the bidding chamber this time, we will definitely win 10 billion orders. You're so angry, you coward. Ye Tiance frowned and said, if you're talking about cold weather, please move to a different place and don't disturb my family's rest here. Xiaonan pouted and said, what's so urgent? You divorced my sister, so we naturally need to figure out some accounts. Xiaonan picked up an old black shoulder bag. 3 years ago, when you joined our Xiao family, you were empty-handed and only had this broken bag all over your body. Now that you're divorced, take this broken thing with you and don't continue to dirty my place. But I'm curious, what kind of junk is inside that's worth keeping for 3 years? Speaking, Xiaonan humbly opened his backpack. only to find a stack of wedding letters inside. There are 9 of them. What is this? Xiaonan randomly took out one and opened it. It reads, rights and judgments are in harmony, the 2 surnames are combined to form a marriage, poetry is sung about IKEA, and 100 years of tranquility is good. Male, Ye Tiance. Female, Han Ruoyun. Xiaonan looked surprised and said, Han Ruoyun? Isn't that the only daughter of the richest man in Jiangnan City? How did you get a marriage certificate with her? Ye Tiance said coldly, it's none of your business. Give it back to me along with the backpack. Speaking of which, these 9 marriage letters were given by his master to his elderly family before he returned to Jiangnan City. What else did he say? These 9 fiancées were carefully selected by him, such as those bestowed by heaven, so take good care of them. However, Ye Tiance didn't take it to heart at all. After returning to Jiangnan City and getting married to Xiao Qingcheng, I simply forgot about these 9 marriage letters. If it weren't for being taken out by Xiao Nan at this moment, I wouldn't have remembered it. Xiao Nan closed the marriage certificate and sneered, humph. I see you heard that the Han family has been recruiting people for Han Ruoyun recently, so you concocted a marriage certificate yourself to try to cheat him into getting married? Can the Han family appreciate you just because of your useless virtue? If I were to go, it would be more like that. As he spoke, he packed the wedding letter into his bag and threw it directly at Ye Tiance's feet. Zhang Huilan impatiently ordered Ye Tiance, I heard that Qingcheng is divorcing you and dividing you by 10 million. What face do you have to accept it, you useless person? Hurry up and give it back to us. Ye Tiance said truthfully, I didn't want the money. Xiaonan cursed and said, damn it, don't leave 10 million yuan here, how are you fooling ghosts? Ye Tiance said coldly, keep your mouth clean. If I don't want it, then I don't want it. If you don't believe me, call your sister. Zhang Huilan spat and said, pooh, I don't believe your nonsense. I'll do a body search now. The bank card must be on you. Then he stepped forward and flipped through Ye Tiance's pocket. Ye Tiance suppressed his anger and said, almost done. Zhang Huilan ignored it and continued to search carefully. I didn't find anything in the end. It's strange, can it be that this useless person really doesn't ask for money? Zhang Huilan looked unwilling. At this moment, Xiaonan's eyes changed and he said, Yi, even if you don't ask for money, shouldn't you repay our Xiao family money? What does it mean? Xiaonan extended a finger and said, you lived and ate in my Xiao family for free for 3 years. Shouldn't you give it back to our Xiao family after divorce? If there's more, at least 1 million. Zhang Huilan added, not only that, but you've also wasted 3 years of my family's youth, at least 3 million yuan in compensation. Also, after divorcing you, my family's marriage in Qingcheng will be a second marriage, and it will also damage her reputation. She needs to compensate 3 million yuan, which adds up to 7 million yuan. Hurry up and get the money. If you can't make money, go sell blood, sell kidneys. The aggressive posture of Zhang Huilan and her wife is simply showing off their shamelessness to the extreme. Ye Tiance narrowed his cold eyes and said in a deep voice, divorce is between me and Xiao Qingcheng, and it has nothing to do with you. I won't give you a penny of money, get lost. Xiaonan looked disdainful and arrogantly said, who do you think you want us to leave? If you don't pay back today, I'll dig into your Ye family ancestral tomb. Say it. He actually kicked Grandpa Ye Tiance's tombstone hard. Bang. On the tombstone, leave a dirty shoe print. Putting down his feet, Xiaonan arrogantly said, did you hear me? Hurry up and give me the money, old man. Before he could finish speaking, Ye Tiance suddenly slapped him on the cheek. Pop. With tremendous force, Xiaonan was able to make 2 turns in place. I'm bleeding from the corners of my mouth. I've been enduring you for a long time, uneducated beast. Ye Tiance's eyes were cold, and he added another kick, kicking him to the ground. The latter was so painful that he lay on the ground and rolled. Ouch, it hurts me so much. Mom, make up your mind for me. Zhang Huilan pointed at Ye Tiance and cursed, you useless person turned around, dare you hit my son? I'm fighting with you. I'm about to grit my teeth and claw at Ye Tiance's face. Just then, a loud shout came from a distance, stop it. I saw a chubby middle-aged man wearing golden glasses walking quickly, followed by 2 black bodyguards. Zhao Hailong shouted in a deep voice, what do you want to do? Zhang Huilan was so frightened by the other party that she weakened her momentum by 3 points and took 2 steps back. The person in front of me looked a bit familiar, but for a moment I couldn't remember who it was. Zhao Hailong turned his head and respectfully asked Ye Tiance, are you okay? Ye Tiance shook his head to signal that it was okay. He really doesn't want to waste his time on the 2 of them. So he gave a glance to Zhao Hailong, who understood and directly ordered the bodyguard to drive them out. The 2 bodyguards respectively controlled Zhang Huilan and Xiaonan. Xiaonan struggled violently and screamed, dogs, let your people his mother loose. My sister is Xiao Qingcheng of Xia Group, can you afford to be provoked? Zhang Huilan also threatened Zhao Hailong, fatso. I'm Xiao Qingcheng, his mother. Let your people loose quickly. Zhao Hailong's face darkened. If it weren't for his concern that these 2 women were relatives of Mr. Ye's ex-wife, he had already been thrown into the sinking river. So he scolded, I don't care who you are, stay away from the cemetery and take it away. The 2 bodyguards didn't procrastinate and took the person away directly. Ye Tiance wiped off the shoe prints on his grandfather's tombstone and asked, you said that the Yi family fire back then was related to the Ji family in Jiangnan. What are the prepared documents? That's it. Zhao Hailong quickly handed over a document. As he read the content of the document, Ye Tiance's expression gradually cooled down. 2 days later, the head of the Ji family, Ji Wuli, also known as Ji Buoduan's father, is preparing to celebrate his 60th birthday. At the birthday banquet, a small auction is planned to celebrate the birthday, and one of the items being auctioned off is a tiger-shaped jade pendant that Grandpa Ye Tiance once wore close to his body. I thought we would be buried together in the sea of fire, but I didn't expect it to be in the hands of the Ji family. Xiao Hailong explained. I have investigated this intelligence based on the clues you provided. As for how the Ji family obtained this jade pendant, it is unclear. Ye Tiance ordered, please arrange for me to attend Ji Wuli's birthday banquet in 2 days.
Yes.
Ye Tiance turned to look at his grandfather's tombstone and said coldly, Grandpa, I will always follow this clue to investigate. No matter who killed you, I will let them be buried with you. Miso. As the words fell, his hand burned into a flame, and the information instantly turned into nothingness. Behind him, Xiao Hailong was stunned. Is this a means that humans can possess? Ye Tiance picked up a backpack with a wedding letter on the ground and said, organize a copy of Han Ruoyun's information and send it to me. I need to explain some old things. Understood. After hesitating for a moment, Xiao Hailong asked, Mr. Yi, what about tomorrow night's Chamber of Commerce? I will go over. You can take care of the rest. Ye Tiance didn't think much and left straight away. Xiao Hailong pondered for a moment in place. Suddenly taking out his phone and making a phone call, he ordered, notify the Xiao family to cancel their eligibility to participate in the Chamber of Commerce tomorrow night. There is no need to explain the reason, and the list of successful bidders for the 10 billion order will be redrawn. Xiaojia Group, top-level office. Xiao Qingcheng sat on the office chair, feeling restless. Although it's a good thing to divorce Ye Tiance, I don't know why I can't be happy. Assistant Sun asked with concern, Mr. Xiao, do you have anything on your mind? No, nothing. Xiao Qingcheng withdrew his heart and said, I was just thinking about tomorrow night's Chamber of Commerce. Who is that big shot behind Long Yi? At this moment, Ji Buduan, who was sitting on the sofa opposite his desk, stood up and walked to Xiao Qingcheng's side. With a hint of boasting, he said, Qingcheng, that important person has a noble status and is worshipped by thousands of people. Coincidentally, I have a very close relationship with him. When we meet at the Chamber of Commerce, I will recommend him to you. If you can win his favor, there will be no limit in the future. Xiao Qingcheng looked forward and said, so, let's trouble Ji Da Xiao. Bang. The office door was suddenly pushed open. Zhang Huilan and Xiaonan rushed in, all disheveled and aggrieved. Especially Xiaonan's mouth was high and swollen, with blood flowing from the corners of her mouth. Zhang Huilan cried out in tears, Qingcheng, you must make the decision for us women and teach that damn bastard a hard lesson. Xiao Qingcheng asked with concern, Mom, what's wrong with you? Zhang Huilan said wrongly, we were beaten up by Ye Tiance, that useless person. He's just a white-eyed wolf. Xiao Qingcheng frowned and couldn't believe it. How could it be him? You must have made a mistake. After 3 years of marriage, although not satisfied with Ye Tiance, I still have some understanding of his temper. I won't easily hit people. Zhang Huilan fabricated. It's absolutely true. Your brother and I went to sweep the graves of his family with kindness. Who would have thought he would suddenly get angry and start hitting someone? This? Xiao Qingcheng is wavering. She knows that her mother and younger brother have many problems, and she always has 3 doubts about their words. Ji Buduan said seriously, Qingcheng, I believe Aunt Zhang. It must be that useless person who couldn't accept being divorced and didn't dare to vent his anger in front of you. So he vented his anger on Aunt Zhang and the others. Ji Da Xiao is right. Zhang Huilan gratefully glanced at Ji Buduan and added to her jealousy. When that trash hit someone, she complained that you didn't get enough money for divorce, and even threatened to go to the Han family in Jiangnan to participate in the marriage recruitment. Being close to a wealthy woman made you regret it. Xiao Qingcheng's expression sank. When proposing a divorce earlier, Ye Tiance refused the carefree attitude exhibited by 10 million, which made her a bit impressed. I didn't expect this kind of person to be behind my back. Thinking of this, she took out the phone and called Ye Tiance. At this moment, Ye Tiance is on his way to the Han family in Jiangnan, preparing to find Han Ruoyun to divorce. The failure of his 3-year marriage left him with no hope of getting married. Therefore, he decided to return all 9 marriage letters left by his master and discard all the old ones. Buzzing. The phone vibrates and the caller ID is displayed. After a slight hesitation, slide the answer button. Xiao Qingcheng's dissatisfied questioning tone immediately came from across. Ye Tiance, why are you doing this? Ye Tiance looked puzzled and said, what did I do? Xiao Qingcheng said coldly, I don't admit it, do I? Did you hit my younger brother? Ye Tiance explained, I did it right, but interrupted by Xiao Qingcheng. If you're not satisfied with the divorce conditions, you can come to me in person instead of swinging your fist at my family. This is a sign of incompetence. Ye Tiance frowned. Does Xiao Qingcheng not even speak right or wrong in order to protect his family? Listening to Ye Tiance not speaking, Xiao Qingcheng continued to ask, where are you now? Ye Tiance answered truthfully, what happened on the way to the Han family in Jiangnan? Xiao Qingcheng's pupils contracted. Sure enough, he really wants to go find the Han family to participate in the marriage recruitment. Just got divorced? Can't you wait? She took a deep breath and said, Ye Tiance, I command you to apologize to my mother and my brother. This matter is over, otherwise you. Unreasonable. Ye Tiance grumbled in dissatisfaction and simply hung up the phone. Xiao Qingcheng was so angry that he almost dropped his phone. We need to fight back immediately. We must ask Ye Tiance to give us an explanation. But the phone ringtone rang first. At first glance, the caller ID shows that they are from Tianlong Group. After answering, Xiao Qingcheng's delicate body trembled and almost fell to the ground. Assistant Sun quickly helped her and asked anxiously, Mr. Xiao, what's wrong? Xiao Qingcheng's face turned pale and he said, Tianlong Group has cancelled our qualification to participate in the bidding Chamber of Commerce tomorrow night. It was personally ordered by Mr. Long. Everyone present was shocked. Well done. Why did you suddenly cancel your membership in the Chamber of Commerce? Isn't it that the winning bid worth 10 billion yuan has also been ruined? Ji Buduan frowned and asked. Can Lord Long personally give orders? Has any one of you offended him? Xiao Qingcheng shook her head and faced the Tianlong group with great caution. How dare she offend them? Zhang Huilan and Xiao Nan exchanged a glance and suddenly thought of something together. The chubby man with golden glasses whom they insulted earlier in the cemetery seems to be Zhao Hailong. After all, his commercial photos can be seen everywhere in Jiangnan City. No wonder it looked a bit familiar at the time. Can you say that just because of this matter, Zhang Huilan and the other two are not doing well in an instant, sweating profusely? Xiao Qingcheng saw something unusual about Zhang Huilan and asked, "What's wrong with you?" Xiaonan dared not tell the truth, so her eyes changed and she said, "Sister, I remember seeing Ye Tiance insulting Long Yi at the cemetery just now. It must have been because of this that Long Yi retaliated against our Xiao family." Xiao Qingcheng didn't believe it at all. How could Ye Tiance have the courage to curse Lord Long? Zhang Huilan helped explain, of course, that useless person wouldn't dare to scold Lord Long normally. He would definitely hold a grudge against divorce and intentionally drag our Xiao family down. Anyway, he's not afraid to wear shoes even if he's barefoot. Don't worry about these details for now. This Chamber of Commerce is crucial to our Xiao family. We need to quickly regain our qualifications, otherwise we won't have orders worth billions. Xiao Qingcheng bit his lips hard. I never expected that Ye Tiance would be so narrow-minded. In order to retaliate against her, he even used 3 vulgar means. I completely misread him. Taking a deep breath, she said helplessly, I also want to salvage it, but Lord Long personally ordered it. What can I do? Assistant Sun reminded, Mr. Xiao, didn't Mr. Ji say that this bidding was all about their Ji family seeking mediation from Mr. Long? He must be able to help. Everyone immediately turned to Ji Buoduan. The latter's face suddenly became awkward, so he gritted his head and said, although that's the case, I'm not very clear about the specific situation. I'll go to Tianlong Group to ask Long Yi about the situation now. Xiao Qingcheng thanked and said, thank you very much. After Ji Buoduan left, Assistant Sun comforted and said, Mr. Xiao, with the help of the young master of the Ji family, you can rest assured. Xiao Qingcheng shook his head. Although the Ji family is one of the 3 major families in Jiangnan City, it may not be effective in front of the Prince Longya of Jiang. I have to find a way myself. After hesitating for a moment, she spoke up and said, the Han family is not only one of the 3 major families, but also the head of the family, Han Tianzheng, is the richest man in Jiangqing. I heard that he has a good personal relationship with Long Yi. I plan to visit the Han family and ask him to help too. Assistant Sun worried and said, the Han family has a prominent position and is not familiar with us either. Can you help? Xiaonan patted her chest and said, don't worry, I'll go with my sister. Coincidentally, Ms. Han has been recruiting recently, and with my appearance and talent, I can definitely pass the test. If I become the son-in-law of the Han family, wouldn't the Han family not help? Zhang Huilan patted her thigh excitedly and said, yes, Xiaonan is so excellent that she will definitely become the son-in-law of the Han family. Let's go over now. Okay, let's go to the Han family now. Xiao Qingcheng can only choose to give it a try. Wulong Manor covers an area of 10,000 square meters, with beautiful scenery and fresh air. This is the home of Han Tianzheng, one of the 3 major families in Jiangnan City and the richest man. On the way here, Ye Tiance finished reading the information about Han Ruoyun sent by Zhao Hailong. 2.5 months ago, Han Ruoyun fell ill after returning from the funeral of Mr. Han. He was unconscious every day, with intermittent bleeding on his skin, leaving major hospitals helpless. Han Tianzheng spent a lot of money to invite Master Gongsun. After peeking into the sky, this person said that Miss Han was not sick, but rather that the old man Han did not see his granddaughter get married before his death, and after his wish was fulfilled, he became obsessed and his soul lingered. And provide a way to crack it, to recruit relatives and bring joy. So 7 days ago, the Han family released a message that they would search for a destined person in Jiangnan City to marry Han Ruoyun and enjoy prosperity and prosperity. As soon as the news came out, young people from all over the city came in droves, unwilling to work hard. Ye Tiance traveled all the way to the inner courtyard of the Han family, where 20 or 30 young people gathered. In the center of the courtyard, there is an altar dedicated to the spirit tablet of Mr. Han, with 3 unlit incense burners inserted in front of the tablet. The head of the family, Han Tianzheng, stood on the right side of the altar. For 2.5 months, he had experienced the pain of losing his father first, and then the uncertainty of his daughter's life and death, both physically and mentally exhausted. On the left side of the altar, there is an old goat-bearded man wearing a yellow robe and a flower crown, with a Taoist and immortal temperament. It is Gongsun Daocheng. He stroked his beard and said, everyone, the so-called destined person needs to be acknowledged by Mr. Han. Later, listen to my orders and come forward to kneel and kowtow to Mr. Han's spirit card. Then, I will test the fate. If the offering incense in front of the destined person's spirit card is detected, it will automatically ignite. Let's start from you. A young man knelt down and kowtowed 3 times to Han Laozi's spirit card. Gongsun Daocheng shook the dust and took vigorous steps to recite, move your heart and shape, return to the void, count the dust and sand, urgent as a law, imperial decree. Offering incense has no response. Gongsun Daocheng said expressionlessly, next up. The next young man came forward and kowtowed. Seeing this, Ye Tiance felt speechless. From hearing that Miss Han's coma was related to Mr. Han's lingering spirit, he thought it was nonsense. He didn't expect the method of testing fate to be even more nonsense. You should know that when it comes to determining fate, it is important to consider aspects such as facial expressions and measuring the 8 characters. I have never heard of kneeling and kowtowing before. Intuition told him that there must be some tricks here. Let's wait and see what happens. After a moment, on the field, including Ye Tiance, there are only 2 people left who have not tested fate, and the rest have not passed. Gongsun Daochang said seriously to Han Tianjing, Master Han, today is the 7th and last day of testing the destined person. If you can't find someone, please be mentally prepared. Han Tianjing nodded dejectedly. Next up, I saw a proud young man wearing a branded suit, walking forward and kneeling down at the spirit card. The crowd exclaimed in surprise. Isn't this Ji Xiao, the second son of the Ji family, who even came to test? The Ji and Han families are both the 3 major families in Jiangnan City. Their second young master and Miss Han are a good match, and they will definitely pass the test. Ji Xiao secretly gave a glance to Taoist Gongsun. The latter understood and stroked his beard, praising, I think this young master has a full heaven and a dragon-like temperament among people. It is estimated that only he can pass the test. It's so best. Han Tianjing looked hopeful that if Ji Xiao could pass the test, it would be a marriage alliance between the Han and Ji families, achieving the best of both worlds. Moved by heart and shape, returning to the void, urgent as a law, imperial edict. As Gongsun Daochang drank fiercely, the incense in the incense burner trembled slightly, but it did not burn. Gongsun Daochang frowned and said, if the offering incense has been moved, it indicates that this young master is destined. Hurry up, keep kowtowing, and with even greater force, don't stop. I will continue to do it. Ji Xiao's expression was joyful, and he kowtowed and increased his strength slightly. Urgent as a law, imperial decree. The incense supply has not been ignited yet, and it has remained the same several times in a row. Han Tianjing was worried and asked, Gongsun Daochang, is Xiao's fate not enough? Gongsun Daochang was sweating profusely at this moment. This shouldn't be. I have rehearsed many times in advance. Taking a deep breath, he ordered Ji Xiao, use more force. You must knock your head and bleed. What? Ji Xiao's body trembled. Are you sure this is not taking my life? Gongsun Daochang said seriously, do it. Ji Xiao's heart stiffened. His head slammed heavily on the ground, and with a thud, he bled. Pain. Gongsun Daochang took the opportunity to pinch the fingertip, blushing and stomping his feet vigorously, shouting, urgent as a law, imperial decree. Miso. Good news. The incense has finally burned. Bad news. Only one and only burned for 3 seconds. Gongsun Daochang gritted his head and said, as long as you can do it, you have passed the test. Congratulations to the Han family leader. Han Tianjing's expression was excited, and his daughter was finally saved. Gongsun Daochang spoke up and reminded, young Master Ji heir, why don't you hurry up and pay respects to your father-in-law? Ji Xiao covered his head and was about to bow to Han Tianjing. Pushi. But suddenly a burst of laughter came from the crowd. Shua. Everyone heard the sound and looked, their eyes fixed on Ye Tiance. Ji Xiao covered his head and scolded, why are you laughing? Ye Tiance said truthfully, I'm laughing at you for working so hard that your head is bleeding. As for that, Ji Xiao's eyes twitched. He doesn't want to work hard, but Taoist priest Gongsun doesn't awesome. However, he said stubbornly, the bleeding represents my sincerity. Mr. Han admits that I am a destined person. Let the incense burn. Ye Tiance said calmly, the burning of incense is caused by other means, and has nothing to do with Mr. Han. Death is like a lamp extinguished. Don't drag it hard. Han Tianjing suddenly shouted, stop talking nonsense. The daughter's marriage proposal is of great significance and cannot be interfered with. It's okay. Gongsun Daochang stroked his beard and took 2 steps forward to ridicule Ye Tiance, saying, you keep saying that offering incense to burn is caused by other means? That's great. Come kneel down and kowtow to try. I'm afraid you'll pull your brain out for nothing. Kowtow? It's not necessary. Ye Tiance said calmly and snapped his finger casually. Pop. Next second. Miso. 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 I saw 3 incense sticks on the incense burner on the altar burning at a visible speed to the naked eye, all igniting. Everyone present looked bewildered, as if they had seen a ghost. Gongsun Daochang's eyes almost popped out. After a while, Han Tianjing, who had reacted, grabbed Ye Tiance's hand and excitedly said, good son-in-law, what's your name? Ye Tiance, Seeing this, Ji Xiao became anxious. He quickly pushed Gongsun Daochang, who hurriedly said, Master Han, you misunderstood. He's not your son-in-law. Han Tianjing asked in reverse, didn't you say that who allowed the 3 incense sticks to burn, on behalf of my father, admitted that he was the son-in-law of the Han family? Gongsun Daochang gritted his head and explained, actually, what your father admitted was young Master Ji heir, but the delay in the manifestation caused the burning of the incense to be delayed by 1 minute, and it happened to be missed by this kid. Everyone present. Gongsun Daochang also realized that this reason was a bit far-fetched and added, and I think this kid looks sharp-tongued and has a thin life. It's impossible for Mr. Han to acknowledge him. Ye Tiance sneered, if you're not good at learning, then don't deceive people and cheat money. Fart. Gongsun Daochong angrily said, I have been studying art in Kunlun Mountain for more than 60 years. I have been observing yin and yang, cutting off feng shui, and knowing fate. You yellow-mouthed child deserves to say that I am not skilled in art. Ye Tiance took out his marriage letter from his bag. You keep saying that Mr. Han doesn't recognize me, so what is that? He said directly on his face. Wedding letter? You? How could you have this? Gongsun Daochong opened the wedding letter, and his entire old face was immediately filled with shock. I kept saying that he was not recognized by Mr. Han, but he not only had a marriage certificate, but also had Mr. Han's autograph on it. This is not recognition. What is recognition? At this moment, he only felt his old face burning hot. Ji Buexiao was even more eager to cry without tears. After putting in a lot of effort during the day, didn't he kowtow in vain? At this moment, Han Tianzheng was dissatisfied and said, Young man, I thought you were a destined person for my daughter, but I didn't expect you to be a fraud in forging a marriage certificate. It's disappointing. Forgery of marriage certificate? What does it mean? Ye Tiance went inside without knowing. Still installing it? Han Tianzheng ordered the steward Wang behind him. Bring those tatters up and show them to him? Yes. Quickly, butler Wang brought a large box. Ye Tiance fixed his gaze and saw that the box was filled with wedding letters in various styles. What kind of ghost is this? Everyone present was equally shocked. Han Tianzheng explained, to be honest with everyone, before my father passed away, he revealed that he had indeed arranged a marriage for Yun Yun in his early years. Unfortunately, before he could reveal the man's identity information, he was suffocated. However, there was a leak about this matter, and that night a group of people came to my house with marriage certificates to fulfill their engagement. If the marriage agreement was true, Han would have kept it, but those dozens of marriage agreements were all forged. It was like playing a joke on my Han family's marriage agreement. I put in a lot of effort to suppress this matter. As he spoke, he stared at Ye Tiance seriously and said, I didn't expect that things have passed so long, and you are still using such backward means to deceive. Do you really think we Han family can be deceived? Ye Tiance has a black line on his face. Good guy. How did he know that there were still people forming a group to forge marriage certificates and cheat people into getting married? He explained, my marriage certificate is true or false, and the head of the Han family can tell at a glance. Don't have to look. Han Tianzheng waved his hand impatiently and said, our Han family doesn't welcome scammers. You go. Anyway, my original intention was to withdraw from the marriage, as long as I received the news. Ye Tiance reluctantly shrugged and said, anyway, I broke my engagement first. As compensation, I will keep this prescription for Miss Han's treatment. He stuffed a prescription into the marriage certificate and handed it to Han Tianzheng. This was actually written in advance when he identified the cause of Han Ruoyun's symptoms. But the latter didn't even glance at it and casually threw it into a box containing other wedding letters, saying coldly, hurry up. Ye Tiance reminded, Master Han, Miss Han's health can only last until today, and the bleeding situation will become more and more serious. If you want to save her, it is recommended to take the medicine as soon as possible. Drop this sentence and leave straight away. Upon seeing Ye Tiance leave, Taoist Gongsun immediately straightened his waist and restored his previous Daofeng immortal bone, saying, Himph, yellow-mouthed child, full of nonsense. Han Tianzheng asked, Gongsun Daochong, what are you going to do next? Since young Master Ji Heir is a destined person, let's go to Miss Han's bed together. After the poor Taoist practices, we will naturally wake up. Okay. Han Tianzheng brought Gongsun Daochong and Ji Buexiao to Han Ruoyun's bedroom. On the bed lay a girl with delicate features, like a fairy in a dream, and she was Han Ruoyun. Gongsun Daochong immediately took action, taking vigorous steps and silently reciting spells. However, no matter what he did, even panting, Han Ruoyun not only remained unconscious, but his skin became even more bleeding. The situation is becoming increasingly serious, as mentioned by Ye Tiance earlier. Gongsun Daochong, what should we do? Han Ruoyun's mother, Li Shuqin, quickly asked. I don't know either. Gongsun Daochong panicked. On the side, Ji Buexiao also became restless. At this moment, Han Tianzheng suddenly thought of something. Steward Wang, quickly bring that kid's marriage letter. After receiving the marriage certificate, Han Tianzheng widened his eyes when he saw his father's handwritten signature. This marriage letter is indeed true. It's my fault for being confused. So, is this prescription also true? A hint of determination flashed in Han Tianzheng's eyes, and he immediately instructed the servant to follow Ye Tiance's prescription and decoct the medicine. Quickly, the decoction was completed and fed to Han Ruoyun to drink. Han Ruoyun's skin no longer oozes blood. People have also woken up with their eyes open. Everyone was stunned. Fortune has descended on my Han family. Han Tianzheng's face turned ecstatic, and he immediately instructed Steward Wang, hurry up and bring Ye Tiance back. Ye Tiance didn't take a few steps away from the Han family's Wulong manor. Suddenly, a black Mercedes-Benz stopped in front of me. Come down with a few familiar figures. Xiao Qingcheng, and her mother Zhang Huilan and younger brother Xiao Nan. Seeing these three people, Ye Tiance frowned slightly. What a narrow path for enemies. Xiao Nan pouted and said, Sister, I didn't lie to you, did I? This person surnamed Yi really came to the Han family. It seems that he must have failed the marriage proposal and was kicked out. He's laughing to death. Xiao Qingcheng instinctively bit his lips. Although divorce was brought up by her, seeing Ye Tiance looking for someone else to marry so quickly made her feel inexplicably uncomfortable. Forced down discomfort. She questioned, Ye Tiance, if you feel that you have been wronged by being sued for divorce, you can clearly explain it. Do you want to retaliate by using petty means? Ye Tiance long said, revenge? I don't understand what you mean. Xiao Qingcheng instinctively clenched his fist and said, have the courage to do it. Dare not admit it? All right. Why did you hit my brother? Ye Tiance replied, because he deserves to owe him a beating. Xiao Qingcheng suppressed his anger and continued to ask, did you scold Lord Long? No. Wait, do you have any misunderstandings about me? Huh. No misunderstanding. Xiao Qingcheng sneered and shook his head, his face full of disappointment. It's already this time, still pretending to be confused, right? If there was self-blame in her heart when she filed for divorce this morning, it will never happen again from now on. So he said coldly, Ye Tiance, this time I will not hold you accountable, even if I compensate you for your divorce. From this moment on, we will not owe each other, and if we have no further involvement, please do not engage in any shady activities. Ye Tiance has a black line on his head. Which one is causing trouble again? Zhang Huilan sneered. If you hear my daughter's words clearly, hurry up and get out of here. Don't stick to the Han family's doorstep, let's follow along and embarrass ourselves. Xiaonan followed angrily and said, just because you destroyed our 10 billion yuan order from the Xiao family, white-eyed wolf, why don't you get out of here? Who did you ask to get out of here? As soon as the words fell, a shout of anger rang out in the distance. A middle-aged man with a Chinese character face walked briskly from the entrance of the Han family, followed by 4 black bodyguards. See this person. Xiao Qingcheng was taken aback. Isn't this the Wang butler of the Han family? As is well known, in order to meet Han Tianjing in Jiangnan City, one must first pass the hurdle of Steward Wang. Xiao Qingcheng approached politely and said, Steward Wang, I am Xiao Qingcheng, the president of the Xiao family group. If you have anything to do, I would like to see the Han family leader. Could you please convey it to me? The head of the household is very busy and doesn't see anyone outside, said the butler Wang flatly. This? Xiao Qingcheng was awkward in place. Xiaonan shook off Lu Haidao and said, Steward Wang, I am here to participate in the marriage recruitment. With my talent and appearance, I am definitely worthy of Miss Han. Could you please show me the way? Steward Wang said coldly, no need. Miss has already successfully recruited a bride. How could? Xiaonan looked jealous. Who took the bad luck to successfully recruit a bride? Steward Wang walked straight to Ye Tiance. Mr. Yi, our head apologizes for the previous misunderstanding and would like to ask you to go back and discuss the matter of marriage again, he said, bowing and bowing. After some thought, Ye Tiance realized that staying here and facing those 3 people would only make him more annoyed. So he nodded and said, okay. The group left. Xiao Qingcheng and the 3 of them looked at each other. Zhang Huilan couldn't believe it and said, I'm not mistaken. Steward Wang respects someone surnamed Yi so much and wants to bring them back to talk about blind dates. Sister, is it he who successfully recruited a bride? Xiao Nan thought of a terrifying and unacceptable fact. Xiao Qingcheng looked at the familiar figure walking into the Han family gate and felt inexplicably stabbed hard in his heart. Dingling bell. The phone rang, an assistant son called. As soon as she connected, she heard her panicked voice. Mr. Xiao, something's wrong. What should we do? Xiao Qingcheng frowned and said, calm down and speak slowly. The news of the cancellation of the Xiao family's eligibility to participate in the conference has leaked. There are rumors in the business community of Jiangnan City that Tianlong Group is going to block us, which has led to all partners proposing to terminate their contracts. Not only that, but also, as heavyweight news came one by one, Xiao Qingcheng's face became increasingly pale. Zhang Huilan and Xiao Nan, who also heard the news, widened their eyes. I didn't expect things to become so bad. After hanging up the phone, ding lingling, Xiao Qingcheng's phone rang again. This time it was from his grandfather Xiao Hongming. After the answer is completed, Xiao Qingcheng sighed and said, alas, Grandpa knows the news of the group's accident. He will soon come back from another city to hold a family meeting and let us all attend. Xiaonan asked, do those surnamed Yi also want to participate? Xiao Qingcheng hesitated for a moment and shook his head, saying, don't worry about him. When you go back to see your grandfather later, don't tell him about my divorce proposal yet. I'm worried he won't accept it. Han's living room. On the sofa sat Ye Tiance, Han Tianjing and his wife, and Han Ruoyun, who had just recovered from a long illness. Han Tianjing has already told Han Ruoyun the whole story. Han Ruoyun looked up and down at Ye Tiance, and the young man was quite handsome, but it didn't mean she could accept it. So he simply said, Dad, I won't marry him. Han Tianjing said seriously, nonsense, this engagement was made by your grandfather, and Xiaoya just saved you. Who will he marry if you don't marry him? 2.5 months ago, when his father passed away, he once told Han Ruoyun that the fiancé arranged by him was a proud son of heaven, and that he could bring tremendous blessings to the Han family. He must not miss it. From Ye Tiance's extraordinary treatment of his daughter's illness, it can be seen that the background is extremely profound. Han Tianjing doesn't want to let this son-in-law go. Han Ruoyun was dissatisfied and said, in what era do we still pay attention to the set of engagement? I said if we don't get married, we won't get married. Besides, I already have a man I like. Han Tianjing and his wife looked confused. Their daughter has always had high expectations. When did a man become her crush? Ye Tiance nodded and said, it's best that way. I was originally here to withdraw from the marriage. Han Ruoyun rolled his eyes. I thought to myself that you were rejected by me and couldn't come down. So I had to pretend to withdraw from your marriage in order to maintain my pitiful dignity. Sure enough, compared to the man I admire, there is a long way to go. I really hope to have the opportunity to meet him once. Dad, Mom, I'm still feeling dizzy. I'll go rest first. Han Ruoyun stood up, let go of this sentence, and left directly. This child. Han Tianzheng had a resentful expression on his face and comforted Ye Tiance. Xiao Yi, don't take my daughter's temper to heart, and don't even propose a divorce on impulse. I think you two are quite compatible. I have no impulse, I am serious, Ye Tiance said with a bitter smile. This? Han Tianzheng's face stiffened. You should know that nowadays Jiangnan City is full of turbulence, and even if he is the richest man, he has to be cautious in his actions. The selected son-in-law should naturally be able to help the Han family. Therefore, talented individuals like Ye Tiance with a deep background must be defeated. Just as he was pondering how to continue persuading Ye Tiance, his wife Li Shuqin received a text message on her phone. After reading the information, her face gradually cooled down. Looking up at Ye Tiance, he asked, who are you? Xiao Qingcheng? Ye Tiance answered truthfully, she is my wife. But, she already filed for divorce in the morning. Han Tianzheng looked at Li Shuqin and asked, what's going on? Li Shuqin said coldly, just now I asked someone to investigate Ye Tiance's information. 3 years ago, he married Xiao Qingcheng from the Xiao family and spent 3 years eating and drinking for free in the Xiao family. Just this morning, he was proposed for divorce by Xiao Qingcheng before he came to our house. So you understand what I mean? Han Tianzheng's face darkened. He caught 2 key pieces of information from this statement. 1. Ye Tiance's divorce after 3 years of living a soft life in the Xiao family indicates that he doesn't have a deep background. Otherwise, the Xiao family would have discovered it earlier. 2. Just as I was mentioned for divorce, I came to his house to invite someone to marry me, which shows that I have become accustomed to eating soft meals. The so-called proposal for divorce is actually a game of play. Good trick. Almost fooled by him. Han Tianzheng glanced at Ye Tiance and said discontentedly, young man, our Han family treats each other with sincerity, but you are using petty means to deal with it. Isn't it appropriate? Ye Tiance frowned and said, what does that mean? Li Shuqin stood up and sneered, hee, you're pretty good at pretending. What about marriage invitations and withdrawals? Isn't it just about our Han family's property? Even if you don't pee and take care of yourself, a useless member of the Xiao family who is kicked out of the house, can you imagine marrying my daughter? Dreaming. As the saying goes, clay figurines also have 3 parts of fire. Ye Tiance's tone cooled down and he said, what are you talking about? I came to the Han family only to get married, not for money. Don't think people are so vulgar. Li Shuqin rolled her eyes and said, ha, I've seen so many men like you who have a hard mouth. Then throw a bank card onto the coffee table. For the sake of saving my daughter, take this 3 million and get lost. Don't disturb us again in the future. Steward Wang, see off the guests. Steward Wang approached with his bodyguard, his evil energy rising. Make a gesture of invitation to Ye Tiance. Ye Tiance stood up, his expression indifferent. A few minutes ago, we warmly welcomed him and in the blink of an eye, we humiliated and drove him away. It was really a perfect interpretation of snobbery. He didn't even glance at his bank card. Let's keep these 3 million yuan for you. The frog at the bottom of the well, to retire, said coldly. Leave this sentence and stride away without looking back. Stinky kid, who are you calling a frog in the well? Looking at Ye Tiance's back, Li Shuqin was extremely angry. Han Tianzheng frowned and said, are you going too far in this way? What's going too far? Even the Xiao family doesn't want trash. Are you really planning to let her marry Yun Yun and harm her for a lifetime? That's not. Han Tianzheng shook his head and said, I just think if Ye Tiance is really useless, why can the prescription he can come up with cure Yun Yun's disease? This alone is not something that ordinary people can have. Li Shuqin pursed her lips and said, it's really confusing. Otherwise, this prescription was picked up by him and has nothing to do with him. There's some truth. Han Tian said to Li Shuqin, go upstairs and tell your daughter that it is said that there will be a big shot behind Long Yi in the evening bidding chamber. Our Han family must find a way to curry favor with that person. It is important to have her prepare in advance and come with me. Li Shuqin didn't know much after going upstairs. Han Tianjing's phone rang, and it turned out to be Zhao Hailong calling. Don't be careless, quickly answer the phone. Long Yi, what advice do you have on the phone? Zhao Hailong smiled and said, I heard that Ling Ai has recovered from her old illness. Congratulations. How's the wedding ceremony going? I'm still waiting for a wedding banquet. Don't mention it. I almost got scammed. Han Tianjing first complained about today's event all the time, and then sneered, that's why Ye Tiance talked about frogs in the well before he left. It's ridiculous. Hello, Dragon Lord, why aren't you talking? Unexpectedly, Zhao Hailong's attitude suddenly became cold and he said, Humph, you are indeed frogs at the bottom of the well. Take it easy. Do. Hang up the phone. What does that mean? Han Tianjing looked confused and instinctively called Zhao Hailong back, only to find that he had been pulled black. I didn't offend him even when I spoke. Why did I get angry? Wait, Ye Tiance. Is it related to him? Yun, Dad has an urgent matter to discuss with you. He immediately stood up and quickly walked upstairs to find Han Ruoyun. Ye Tiance didn't take a few steps away from the Han family when he received a call from Mr. Xiao. "Hello, Grandpa. Is there anything I can do for you on the phone?" For the past 3 years, Xiao Hongming has regarded Ye Tiance as his own and treated him as his own grandfather, showing great filial piety. Xiao Hongming said wearily, "Tiance, our family is holding an emergency meeting. Come back quickly. I have something to tell you." To be honest, Ye Tiance doesn't want to have any further involvement with the Xiao family. However, considering that after obtaining the divorce certificate with Xiao Qingcheng, I probably won't go to the Xiao family again in the future. Let's consider meeting the old man for the last time this time. So he agreed, "Okay, I'll go back now." Xiao family villa. At this time, numerous management members of the Xiao group and relatives and friends of the Xiao family gathered in chaos. Since Ye Tiance married Xiao Qingcheng for 3 years, the Xiao family has been steadily advancing and their career is thriving. However, for some unknown reason, today with the disqualification of the bidding chamber, it caused a ripple effect and severely affected all the business of the group. This is something that has never happened before. After hanging up the phone, Xiao Hongming frowned and asked Xiao Nan, "Are you sure that Tiance insulted Long Yi, causing him to retaliate against the Xiao family?" Xiao Nan quickly nodded and said, "It's true. I saw it with my mother." "Dad, there is indeed this matter," Zhang Huilan agreed. Xiao Hongming shook his head and said, "Tiance shouldn't be this kind of person. I am very clear about his temperament." "Qingcheng, Grandpa trusts you more. What's going on?" Xiao Hongming looked at Ye Qingcheng, who only had a son but passed away early. His grandson Xiao Nan was unreliable, so he had always trained Xiao Qingcheng as his successor. Xiao Qingcheng hesitated for a moment, and a hint of determination flashed in his eyes as he said, "What they said is true. Of course, the Xiao family has lost their qualification to attend the meeting, and as the chairman of the group, I should take responsibility." As soon as this statement was made, many children of the Xiao family began to defend themselves against injustice. "Mr. Xiao, this matter has nothing to do with you. It's all due to that useless person Ye Tiance causing trouble and causing us to lose the 10 billion yuan order we are about to receive. Yeah, you're quite interested in that trash. There's no need to take responsibility for it. Our Xiao family shouldn't have fulfilled their engagement with him back then. If you didn't understand the favor of a dog, you should divorce him, break your legs, and drive him out of the Xiao family." Listening to everyone's condemnation, Xiao Hongming furrowed his brow and his mind sank. Was it really a wrong decision to insist that Xiao Qingcheng and Ye Tiance fulfill their engagement back then? What should we do now? Someone suggested, "Master, if you want me to say that you still need to tie the bell to untie the bell, you should arrest Ye Tiance and ask him to apologize to Lord Long with 3 steps, 1 bow, 9 steps, and 1 kowtow. Maybe if he's in a good mood, he'll let the Xiao family go." Xiao Nan snorted disdainfully and said, "He's the only one who caused such a big trouble. If he had the courage to come back, I would eat shit on the spot." The words have just finished. A familiar voice outside the living room sounded coldly, "If you want to eat shit, just say it directly. There's no need to make excuses." Seeing Ye Tiance enter the living room, Xiao Qingcheng frowned. "What are you doing back here?" Ye Tiance calmly replied, "It was my grandfather who called me back." Then he approached and politely greeted Xiao Hongming, "Grandpa, I'm back." Before Xiao Hongming could answer, everyone present was the first to fiercely condemn him. "White-eyed wolf, are you okay to come back? Do you know how much trouble you've caused? Insulting Long Yi resulted in the disqualification of the Xiao family from participating in the Chamber of Commerce, and the winning bid in hand was ruined. What crime should you bear? Once the Xiao family wins a 10 billion yuan order, their status will be tied or even surpassed by the 3 major families, all destroyed by you." Ye Tiance suddenly understood why Xiao Qingcheng had that attitude towards him at the Han family's doorstep earlier. "Turns out I took the blame for nothing." So he explained, "I didn't insult Zhao Hailong. The 10 billion yuan order from the Xiao family is actually—" Xiao Nan interrupted him and said, "Fart. You can also call Long Ye's name taboo? Even though I saw you insulting Long Yi, I still don't admit it? You're so audacious. Grandpa, I earnestly request your family to take care of Ye Tiance. Do you dare him to speak hard?" "Shut up." Xiao Hongming glared at Xiao Nan and said to Ye Tiance, "Keep talking." Ye Tiance said, "There are indeed people who insult Zhao Hailong, but it's not me, but the 2 of them." He pointed his hands at Zhang Huilan and Xiao Nan respectively, saying, "You 2 have reversed right and wrong, framed and framed. You're really shameless." Xiao Hongming's face darkened and he asked the 2 of them, "Is this really the case?" Xiao Nan defended himself, "Grandpa, don't listen to him being careless. How dare I scold Lord Long?" Zhang Huilan nodded in agreement and said, "Ye Tiance is stirring up trouble and deliberately dragging us both into the water. Dad, you need to investigate carefully." "This?" Xiao Hongming frowned and pondered. At the moment, he didn't know who to believe. Xiao Qingcheng said irritably to Ye Tiance, "Are you finished or not? It's already this time, and you're still throwing the blame. Do you think our Xiao family is not chaotic enough?" Ye Tiance raised his eyebrows and asked, "Do you not trust me?" "How about that?" Xiao Qingcheng said with resentment, "Because of your reckless behavior, the Xiao family lost their eligibility to participate in the conference and ruined their future. What else do you want? Do you think the Xiao family is not miserable enough? You go. I don't want to see you again." Xiao Hongming frowned and said, "Qingcheng, don't say such things. he said helplessly to Ye Tiance. Don't take it to heart. It's really a big blow to the Xiao family, not to mention the downfall. Even I can't accept it. Ye Tiance watched as Xiao Hongming looked lost and helpless. I let out a sigh in my heart. The old man is as kind to me as mountains. For the sake of his face, let's help the Xiao family for the last time. Grandpa, don't worry. I can have Zhao Hailong restore the bidding chamber of commerce for the Xiao family. As soon as this statement was made, the scene was in a state of uproar. Xiaonan burst into laughter and said, "Laugh to death. If you let Long Yi recover, he will recover. He's your subordinate? You can really boast?" Zhang Huilan scolded. "Can you trash stop making a fool of yourself here? Get out of here." Xiao Qingcheng said coldly, "Ye Tiance, take back your arrogant appearance." Even Xiao Hongming shook his head and sighed, obviously not believing his words. Faced with questioning from the crowd, Ye Tiance remained calm and said, "Wait a moment. Wait for me to make a phone call, and the result will be known." After speaking, he left the living room. I found a place without anyone and dialed Zhao Hailong's phone number. As for the people in the living room, they didn't even take Ye Tiance's words seriously. "We are still discussing resolving the issue of meeting quotas." Assistant Sun reminded, "Mr. Xiao, didn't Mr. Ji mention earlier that he could help find Mr. Long? Can you ask him how he's doing?" Xiao Qingcheng shook his head and said helplessly, "I've been fighting a few times, but no one has answered. Maybe I can't help you at all, just deliberately avoid me." Zhang Huilan quickly said, "How could that be? Ji Daso always speaks his mind. Do you think it's Ye Tiance, that useless person? He said he can definitely help if he can." Xiaonan followed suit and said, "Mom is right. Even Ji Daso can help us win the bid, let alone the small matter of restoring attendance. Let's wait for good news." At the same time, a high-end club, Ji Budwan sat on the sofa, enjoying the service of two sexy women wearing revealing clothes rubbing their shoulders. Standing in front of him was a man with a face 3 parts similar to his, with a bandage wrapped around his forehead. It is his younger brother Ji Buoxiao. Ji Buoxiao looked resentful and aggrieved and said, "Brother, everything went smoothly." Unexpectedly, at a critical moment, a troublemaker named Ye Tiance appeared. If it weren't for him, I would have become the son-in-law of the Han family long ago. Ji Budwan snorted coldly and said, "That useless person is just a soft eater. You can't even deal with him. What reason are you looking for?" Ji Buoxiao poured a glass of wine for Ji Buoxiao and said, "Brother, don't be angry. Anyway, the Han family won't be interested in him. I have a chance to take Han Ruoyun in the future. By the way, how are you and Xiao Qingcheng doing?" Ji Budwan said calmly, "The outside world is rumoring that the Tianlong group is going to block the Xiao family. Now the Xiao family is not far from collapse." Ji Buoxiao was puzzled and asked, "Brother, what's the point of continuing to pursue Xiao Qingcheng? Their family doesn't have a chance to get 10 billion orders, so it doesn't have much value for our family." Actually, the two brothers have been dividing their work well from the beginning. Brother Ji Budwan pursues Xiao Qingcheng, while younger brother Ji Buoxiao goes to the Han family to recruit a bride. No matter which success, it will add wings to the Ji family like a tiger. Ji Boden curled his lips and said, "Of course I know, and the rumor that Tianlong group is going to block the Xiao family was released by me." Ji Buoxiao asked in confusion, "Huh? Shouldn't you help the Xiao family and prove yourself in front of Xiao Qingcheng?" Ji Budwan sneered, "How could I change the decision made by Lord Long? Instead of helping them, it's better to spread rumors and let everyone stay away from the Xiao family. In this way, I can forcefully invade and easily grasp the Xiao family and Xiao Qingcheng, absorbing all their assets, which is also of great help to my Ji family." Ji Buoxiao gave a thumbs up and said, "Brother, your move is clever and I admire it." Ji Budwan smiled proudly and glanced at the series of missed calls from Xiao Qingcheng on his phone. "She's in such a hurry. It seems like the heat is almost over. I'll go to the Xiao family and rob while the fire is raging." Ji Budwan stood up and left. Ji Buoxiao, who was left behind, drank a glass of wine fiercely and gritted his teeth with a gloomy expression, saying, "Yi, we're not finished with this matter. Don't let me find you." Outside the Xiao family villa, Ye Tiance has already had a phone call with Zhao Hailong, ordering him to restore the participation quota of the Xiao family. The winning bid will be changed from being determined within the Xiao family to a fair selection again. Of course, it is also a fact that Zhao Hailong was insulted by Zhang Huilan and Xiao Nan. Therefore, Ye Tiance also gave Zhao Hailong a plan to have Zhang Huilan and her son apologize to him. After all, one size fits all. Hang up the phone. When Ye Tiance was about to turn around and go back, his phone rang. It's an unfamiliar number. Ye Tiance answered the phone and asked, "Hello, may I ask who you are?" A familiar and aloof voice came from across. "I'm Han Ruoyun. Could you please meet me? I have something to tell you." Ye Tiance was quite surprised that she would come to her and asked, "What's the inconvenience of calling?" Han Ruoyun said forcefully, "You need to speak in person. Hang up first. I'll send you your meeting address later. Remember to come over." Hang up the phone directly. Ye Tiance frowned and muttered, "Nowadays, women are becoming more and more dominant one by one." At this moment, a red Lamborghini parked at the entrance of the villa. Dressed in glamorous attire, Ji Budwan got off the car. Seeing Ye Tiance, he joked and said, "Yo, isn't this a useless son-in-law who was kicked out by the Xiao family? How could he still have the face to go back to the Xiao family?" Ye Tiance responded calmly, "What does it have to do with you?" Ji Budwan sneered and said, "Still pretending? I see you failed in your final marriage attempt. Do you want to lick your face and return to the Xiao family to continue eating and drinking? Don't dream. The Xiao family is about to end. He walked up to Ye Tiance. He lowered his voice and said, after all, it's thanks to you insulting Long Yi and implicated the Xiao family, which gave me an opportunity to take advantage of. Ye Tiance raised his eyebrows and said, what do you mean? Ji Buduan licked his lips and greedily said, there are rumors that the Xiao family has been sealed off by the Tianlong group. At this critical moment, they can only seek help from me. If I use any means, the Xiao family will have to submit to my feet. As for Xiao Qingcheng, he can play with it any way he wants. Ye Tiance squinted his eyes and said, I see. Did you spread this rumor? Ji Buduan smiled and said, who knows anyway, it has nothing to do with you, you useless person. Then he swaggered into the villa, already fantasizing about how to speak up and hold on to the Xiao family. When he first walked into the villa living room, but it was discovered that there was no suppressed atmosphere in the living room. On the contrary, everyone present was excited and showed no signs of collapse. What's going on? Zhang Huilan suddenly stepped forward, grabbed his hand and exclaimed excitedly, Ji Daso, thank you for your help, otherwise our Xiao family would be ruined. Help? Ji Buduan looked confused and didn't know where to go. Zhang Huilan smiled and said, just now, Lord Long personally called to announce the resumption of the Xiao family's participation in the bidding Chamber of Commerce. Didn't you help persuade him? What kind of thing? Ji Buduan is even more confused. With him alone, who is qualified to persuade Lord Long? What happened to suddenly turn things around? However, since the Xiao family has regained their membership in the Chamber of Commerce, it indicates that Long Yi has forgiven the Xiao family and estimated that the predetermined winning bid still exists, so there is still value in utilization. Although I don't understand why these people misunderstood that he was helping, then let's make the mistake. So he coughed lightly and said with a pretentious tone, I just had a meal with Lord Long and casually mentioned a few words, but I didn't expect him to agree. As soon as he said this, everyone present praised him incessantly. Even Xiao Hongming stroked his beard and nodded in satisfaction. Xiao Qingcheng walked forward with an excited expression, saying, Ji Da Xiao, I am immensely grateful for your kindness. Qingcheng, with me here, not to mention restoring your family's eligibility to participate in the conference and winning the bid. Even if I help you recommend sitting down with that big shot and having fun, how difficult is it? At this moment, Ji Buduan was holding his hands in his pockets, as if he had no opponent. Upon hearing these words, Ye Tiance, who followed in, couldn't help but sneer. Hee, this guy is really shameless. Zhang Huilan said fiercely, you useless thing, are you still willing to laugh? Look at Ji Daso, who easily changed Long Ye's mind. Look at you, you have no other ability except to cause trouble. Ye Tiance asked, why do you think he made Zhao Hailong change his mind? Zhang Huilan gave Ye Tiance a disgusted glare and said, it's not Ji Daso, can it still be you? Ye Tiance nodded and said, it's me. Xiaonan laughed and laughed on the spot. Yi, why don't you brag and force yourself to death? Just now you said you could solve it by going out and making a phone call, and then there was no one in sight for a long time. Now that Ji Daxiao has solved the problem, you have jumped out and taken credit for it. Do you still want to be shameless? Assistant Sun also agreed. You insulted Lord Long for causing trouble for the Xiao family. If it weren't for Mr. Ji's help, you would have been killed by Lord Long long ago. If you're not grateful now, let's forget it. You're still taking credit for it. Do you have a white-eyed wolf like you? Ji Buduan waved his hand and pretended to have a big way of speaking. Forget it. My lord has a lot of knowledge, so I don't have the same opinion as him. Xiao Qingcheng said seriously to Ye Tiance. I don't expect you to learn from Ji Daxiao's manly demeanor, but at least you should say thank you to him. After all, he has helped you. Do you want me to say thank you to him? Ye Tiance shook his head and sneered. This kind of petty person is not worthy. You want to say it yourself? Xiao Qingcheng couldn't help but say, Ye Tiance, why don't you know what's wrong with you? I really don't understand why you've become like this. Ye Tiance calmly said, no matter what I become, haven't you always looked down on me? You are really hopeless. Xiao Qingcheng bit his lip and was completely disappointed with Ye Tiance. Xiaonan suggested to Xiao Hongming, Grandpa, do you see how ungrateful and arrogant this person surnamed Yi is? You should order him to break his legs, divorce my sister, drive him out of the Xiao family, and save us from further harm. As soon as this statement was made, everyone present at the Xiao family expressed their support. This? Xiao Hongming sighed. For the past 3 years, apart from him, everyone in the Xiao family has been dissatisfied with Ye Tiance, but all they have identified are minor flaws that are irrelevant. But today is different. Ye Tiance's behavior not only angered the public, but almost destroyed the Xiao family. Even after making a mistake, one still doesn't know how to repent and insists on reasoning. Did I really misjudge someone after 3 years of persistence? After hesitating for a moment, he asked Xiao Qingcheng, this is your own marriage, Grandpa. Respect your thoughts? Grandpa, I. Xiao Qingcheng bit her lips as she repeatedly begged her grandfather to respect her marriage choices. At present, her grandfather suddenly gave her this power, but she didn't know what to say. On the side, Zhang Huilan hurriedly urged, silly girl, what are you waiting for? Quickly agree to divorce Ye Tiance. Xiaonan also agreed and said, sister, cut off the relationship with someone surnamed Yi completely, the opportunity is rare. Xiao Qingcheng finally had a hint of determination in his eyes. Grandpa, to be honest with you, I divorced Ye Tiance this morning. After attending the Chamber of Commerce, I will go to the Civil Affairs Bureau to obtain the divorce certificate. That's my idea. Sigh. Xiao Hongming sighed and looked at Ye Tiance, saying, Tiance, you? Grandpa, you don't have to say it. Ye Tiance raised his hand to interrupt Xiao Hongming's words and said calmly, I, Ye Tiance, have agreed to Xiao Qingcheng's proposal. Thank you for your care over the past 3 years. Goodbye. Ye Tiance bowed deeply to Xiao Hongming. Let's say goodbye to the Xiao family completely. Then turn around and leave without even looking at the others. The Xiao family present cheered loudly. Haha, this broom star has finally gone, and our Xiao family is finally about to rise. In the past 3 years, he has caused a lot of trouble for the Xiao family. When he wins a 10 billion yuan order tomorrow night and befriends the big shots behind Long Yi, he envies him to death. For some reason, everyone's excitement fell into Xiao Qingcheng's eyes at this moment, but he couldn't get excited. On the contrary, there is a sense of confusion in losing some important existence. Zhang Huilan cleared her throat and suggested, let me tell you, our Xiao family has overcome this difficult time thanks to Mr. Ji, so we should set up 2 tables and thank them well, especially Yu Qingcheng. We need to have a few more drinks with them. Everyone agrees. Ji Buduan pretended to be forced and said, Dragon Lord just invited me to have a meal, and I'm not hungry yet. However, everyone showed their hospitality, so it's better for Ji to be respectful than obedient. As soon as the words fell, a cold and seductive voice suddenly rang out of the door. When did you have dinner with Lord Long? How come I don't know? I saw a beautiful woman wearing a red skirt with black silk walking into the living room. It looks like it's only 30 years old, but it exudes a strong sense of authority. Ji Buduan frowned and said, Who are you? Is there any evidence that I didn't eat with Lord Long? The woman said coldly, This afternoon, Long Yi and I have been in a meeting and haven't seen him eating with anyone. Have you traveled through time and space? Shua. Everyone's gaze fell on Ji Boden. Are you lying when you keep saying you're having dinner with Zhao Hailong? Ji Buduan stubbornly retorted, Don't listen to her, everyone. She's just a pretty little girl who can't even find the gate of the Tianlong group. She even boasted about having an afternoon meeting with the Dragon Lord. Who would believe it? The words have just finished. Xiao Qingcheng suddenly stepped forward and respectfully said to the woman, Mr. Qian, why did you come over? You're welcome from afar. Ji Buduan was taken aback and said, Qingcheng, what is the total amount of money? Xiao Qingcheng introduced to everyone. This is Qian Qinian, Vice President of Tianlong Group, Mr. Qian, and one of the leaders of the Tianlong Chamber of Commerce this time. Ji Buduan widened his eyes and said, Qingcheng, are you sure you're not mistaken? Why haven't I heard of this person? Xiao Qingcheng shook his head and said, I won't admit it. Qian always joined last month, and I have met her once. Ji Da Xiao, you just went to Tianlong Group to ask Long Yi to help us restore our attendance. Didn't you see Mr. Qian? Ah, this. Ji Buduan stuttered and hesitated. Qian Qinian said coldly, I haven't even met this young Master Ji. Besides, Lord Long has decided to restore the Xiao family's participation quota, which is something that someone like him can mix in with. Joke. Everyone present was greatly surprised. Surprisingly, this matter has nothing to do with Ji Daso. Why does he say he helped? Intentionally pretending to be intimidating in front of us. Teske. I didn't expect him to be this kind of person. Damn it, he almost installed it. Xiao Qingcheng frowned and asked, Ji Daso, what's going on here? Ji Buduan blushed and awkwardly explained, Ahem, there must be a misunderstanding here. Well, I suddenly remembered that there's another urgent matter. Goodbye first. After speaking, he took off and left this land of right and wrong. At this moment, Qian Qian took out an invitation letter and said, I came here specifically to send an invitation letter from the bidding Chamber of Commerce for tomorrow night to the Xiao family. Xiao Hongming quickly got up from the main seat and walked politely to Qian Qian, saying, I need you, Mr. Qian, to come and help me with this small matter. Thank you very much. As he was about to receive the invitation letter, he realized that Qian Qinian had not handed it to him. Is this? Xiao Hongming went inside without knowing. The others present also looked at each other in confusion. Qian Qinian smiled faintly and said, Master Xiao, this invitation letter can be given to the Xiao family, but as Long Yi has said, there is a premise that the person who insulted him should apologize to him and speak in front of me. Apologizing is not a problem, but... Xiao Hongming was puzzled and said, but just now, Ye Tiance has already left our Xiao family. Xiao Qingcheng also said, Mr. Qian, it's really not possible. I can apologize to Lord Long on his behalf. Do you think it's okay? Ye Tiance? Qian Qinian shook his head and said, it's not him. I don't know him either. Long Yi said that at that time, one of them insulted him, claiming to be your younger brother, Mr. Xiao, and the other claiming to be your mother. Wow, this statement shocked the whole audience. Countless gazes fell on Zhang Huilan and Xiao Nan. The two of them were trembling all over, like sitting on pins and needles. Damn it, it's been discovered. Xiao Hongming's face darkened and he said, give me an explanation. Xiao Nan stubbornly argued, Grandpa, this must be framing. How dare we insult Lord Long? Xiao Hongming slapped Xiao Nan in the face. Fart it. What kind of identity is Dragon Lord? Will he wrongly accuse you? Today, you must honestly explain everything before and after. If there is any concealment, don't blame my family for handling it. Xiao Nan's face turned pale with fear and said, Grandpa, please don't. Let me tell you, I can't even say it's okay. Immediately, Xiao Nan openly recounted the process of humiliating Ye Tiance, insulting Zhao Hailong, and framing Ye Tiance in the Ye family cemetery. After speaking, Zhang Huilan and Xiao Nan, the mother and son, immediately knelt down on the ground to confess their mistakes and apologize to Long Yi, even willing to slap oneself in the face, making a popping sound. At this moment, Xiao Qingcheng was so angry that he trembled all over. No wonder Ye Tiance used his hand to hit his younger brother. It turned out that her younger brother and mother were unreasonable in asking for money, and even kicked her grandfather's tombstone on the day of his family's death. Such deceit. If it were anyone who would have hit someone. Plus, my mother reversed black and white, framed and framed, which led me to believe their words and wrongly blame Ye Tiance time and time again. Regrets churn in my heart. Xiao Hongming was so angry that he cursed loudly. Both of you have had your conscience eaten by the dog. You misled me and wronged Tiance. I'm sorry for his grandfather. I'm sorry for the Yi family. During his speech, Xiao Hongming suddenly felt a sharp pain in his chest. Puff. A mouthful of blood spurts out. I fainted directly. Grandpa. Master. In an instant, everyone panicked and surrounded the entire Xiao family, causing chaos. In the evening, Tianlong Hotel is the most luxurious hotel in Jiangnan City. At this moment, on the first floor by the window, there was a beautiful woman wearing a snow-white dress sitting there, seemingly waiting for something. Guests around the table are discussing. Isn't that Han Ruoyun, the daughter of the richest man? Her incurable illness has actually healed? I heard that the Han family's marriage proposal was cured today, and they came to wait for someone as soon as they recovered from a serious illness. Who is so lucky? Look, someone is here. At this moment, a simple and handsome young man sat down opposite Han Ruoyun. Ye Tiance asked directly, "What's the point of calling me here? Do you insist on meeting and talking?" If it weren't for this woman's tough attitude on the phone and her being one of the fiancés designated by her master, he wouldn't have wanted to come over. Han Ruoyun took out 2 golden bank cards from her bag and placed them on the table. There are 10 million in each of these 2 cards. Keep them safe. Ye Tiance drank tea and asked, "What does that mean?" Han Ruoyun looked up at his chin with a cold and proud expression. Among them, 10 million is considered as a thank you for saving me. The remaining 10 million is to ask you to withdraw your play of playing hard to get with me in the future. Don't pester me. Ye Tiance almost took a sip of tea. Miss Han, you're not mistaken, are you? I've only seen you once before. Why did we just play hard to get you? Wrong? Hee. Han Ruoyun seemed to see through everything. From you proposing to withdraw your marriage to refusing my mother's offer of 3 million, isn't it just a deliberate attempt to establish a character and attract my parents' attention? Coincidentally, Long Ye's phone call caused my dad to misunderstand you, and he even asked me to talk to you again. He's such a fool. I admit that your means of obtaining me are very clever, but you cannot hide it from me. For the sake of our engagement, let's take the money and leave to give ourselves dignity. My daughter, the richest woman in Jiangnan, will never want second-hand goods left behind by others. Ye Tiance almost got angry and laughed. I don't understand why you're so ordinary yet so confident. What's wrong with the daughter of the richest man? Little Jiangnan City's richest man, in his eyes, is no different from a beggar. How did you speak? Han Ruoyun is extremely angry. She has been shrouded in countless halos since childhood, with many pursuers, and no one has ever said she is ordinary. Ye Tiance said calmly, I'm just telling the truth. If Miss Han doesn't like to listen, plug her ears. You. Han Ruoyun is about to have a seizure. A voice suddenly reprimanded Ye Tiance. You're so reckless that you dare to humiliate Yun, thinking your life is too long? A young man in a suit and leather shoes, with a bandage wrapped around his head, walked over. It is Ji Buoxiao, the second son of the Ji family. He said to Han Ruoyun in a soft voice, Yun, you have just recovered from your long illness. There's no need to be angry with this kind of person. Xiaoge will make the decision for you. Han Ruoyun glanced at Ji Buoxiao and didn't want to talk to him. This guy has pursued himself many times back then, but he can't even drive him away. Ji Buoxiao didn't feel embarrassed at all and squinted as he threatened Ye Tiance. You make it easy for me to find it. I command you to kneel down immediately and apologize to Yun, then crawl out like a dog. Otherwise, Ye Tiance raised his eyebrows and asked, Otherwise, what? Ji Buoxiao had a domineering attitude and said, Otherwise, I'll show you the terror of the Ji family in Jiangnan. From today, when he went to the Han family to invite a bride and was destroyed, he hated Ye Tiance to the bone. Now that he suddenly happened to meet him, he naturally wouldn't let it go. Han Ruoyun impatiently said, Ji Buoxiao, my matter has nothing to do with you. You can leave. Ji Buoxiao looked like a licking dog and said, Yun, no matter who provokes you, you will never get along with me. Don't worry, I will handle it properly. As he spoke, he suddenly slammed the table with a loud bang. Didn't you hear what I said? Or are you a useless son-in-law who was kicked out of the Xiao family and didn't take our Ji family seriously? A series of actions attracted many customers to come and see. Ye Tiance smiled and said, What is there in the Ji family that I should pay attention to? Is it your father Ji Wooly? Is it your brother Ji Buoduan? Or is it your Ji Buoxiao? TSK, take a look at the names of the 3 of you, one powerless, one short, and one small. Shouldn't they all describe reality? As soon as these words were spoken, many customers couldn't help but laugh out loud. The names of these three masters are really funny. Even Han Ruoyun's cheeks flashed with a blush. He fiercely gouged out Ye Tiance. What kind of words does this bastard say in public? You want to die. Ji Boxiao's face turned red with anger and let out an angry roar. Go straight to Ye Tiance's face with a punch. He believes that by practicing taekwondo for 2.5 years, he can at least break Ye Tiance's nose. However, in the next moment, a flower appeared before his eyes. With a bang, the whole person flew backwards and fell heavily to the ground. All kinds of meat and vegetables. Ah! Some timid customers screamed in fear. Even Han Ruoyun widened his eyes, unable to see clearly what had happened in that moment just now. Da. Immediately after, the hotel manager rushed over with a group of security guards. Who dares to cause trouble at the Tianlong Hotel? The hotel manager's son Jun glanced around and shouted in a deep voice. The customers remained silent and dared not look at each other. As is well known, Tianlong Hotel is one of the enterprises under the Tianlong Group, with a profound background. In Jiangnan City, no one dares to cause trouble at the Tianlong Hotel. Ji Boxiao struggled to stand up, grinning in pain. Sun Jun saw Ji Boxiao with a hint of flattery on his face and asked, Ji Ershao, what's going on? Who provoked you? Ji Boxiao pointed at Ye Tiance and said angrily, Manager's son. It was he who hit me. This bastard deliberately caused trouble at the Tianlong Hotel. Don't let him go. Shua. Sun Jun and the security guards behind him looked at Ye Tiance in unison. Sun Jun put on an arrogant look and said, Kid, do you know what price to pay for causing trouble and hitting people at the Tianlong Hotel? Ye Tiance looked helpless and said, He took the initiative first and I counterattacked. What's the problem? Ji Boxiao shouted loudly, Fart. Even though you provoked me first, don't bite people recklessly. He said to Sun Jun again, Manager's son, as long as you help me out today, I will definitely repay you several times. For Sun Jun, the truth of the conflict is not important. What is important is Ji Boxiao's promise. So he smiled and said, Ji Air, you're welcome. This is all my job. What do you want to do with this kid? Ji Boxiao squinted his eyes and said coldly, I want your person to break his legs and throw him out of the restaurant. There's a sign at the door that says Ye Tiance and dogs are not allowed to enter, causing him to lose face. How about that? As soon as this statement was made, the customers all gasped for air conditioning. This season, Boxiao is truly a vengeful act, too ruthless. At the same time, he felt sorry for Ye Tiance, but at the same time, he had no choice. Who let him provoke the wrong people? Sun Jun smiled faintly and said, This little thing is up to me. He signaled to the security guard behind him to take action. Wait a minute. At this moment, Han Ruoyun stood up and spoke to stop the way. Sun Jun was stunned for a moment and asked in confusion, Miss Han, what do you mean by this? Han Ruoyun ignored him and said coldly to Ye Tiance, You just need to apologize for insulting me just now and ask for my help. I can help you get through this crisis for the sake of our engagement. Ye Tiance simply refused. No need. Han Ruoyun was taken aback for a moment and frowned, saying, A great disaster is looming. Are you still pretending to be tall and upright in front of me? Miss, I have said I won't accept your tricks. Ye Tiance said speechlessly, Miss Han, I really suggest you go see a psychologist. Excessive narcissism is a disease that needs to be treated. You? Han Ruoyun choked heavily and was so angry that his chest rose and fell, saying, I don't know what to do. I don't care about you, Mississippi. I love you to death. Seeing this, Ji Boxiao added fuel to the fire and said, Yun, I told you earlier. This useless person doesn't know what to do. Don't pay attention to him. Manager's son, quickly ask your people to take action. Sun Jun waved his hand and was about to summon people to rush forward. However, Ye Tiance suddenly said, Manager's son, I advise you to stop with a good word. Otherwise you will lose your job and it will not be worth the loss. Sun Jun almost got angry and laughed. Kid, have I lost my job? Who do you think you are? Our restaurant owner? Or the chairman of the Tianlong Group, Long Yi, at a higher level? Although I'm not the owner of your restaurant, I can order Zhao Hailong to have your boss dismiss you, Ye Tiance said calmly, inserting his hands into his pockets. The words fell. Everyone looked at Ye Tiance's gaze. It was like looking at a mentally disabled person. What is the identity of Dragon Lord? Do you say he will obey your orders? Good guy. Why don't you say you're the Earth's longest, and all humanity should listen to you? Sun Jun couldn't help but sneer. I really want to see how you can make Lord Long listen to you. I'm so looking forward to being fired by you. Haha. Ji Boduan even sneered, If you can fire Manager's son, I'll call you dad in public. Han Ruoyun sneered in his heart. She originally thought that Ye Tiance was deliberately pretending to be coerced in front of her, playing hard to get and attracting her attention. Looking at it now, it's just a brain pit. Why did Grandpa make an engagement with him back then? Fortunately, I regretted it. As for Ye Tiance, he didn't care about the ridicule of these people and directly took out his phone to call Zhao Hailong. I'm at the Tianlong Hotel. Give you a minute to have the restaurant owner come and dismiss a manager named Sun Jun. Then hang up. This move has made surrounding customers join in the ridicule. This kid is pretending to be addicted. Why come here in a minute? Think you're making a movie. A clown. Sun Jun glanced at the time and arrogantly said, Kid, there are still 15 seconds left in the countdown. If no one comes yet when the time is up, you may be. I haven't finished speaking yet. A middle-aged man in a gray suit hurriedly ran down the stairs and arrived in front of Ye Tiance. With a respectful attitude, he said, Mr. Ye, Qin arrived late and deserved to die. I will dismiss Sun Jun now. In an instant, the whole scene fell silent. Everyone stared blankly at this middle-aged man. This person is exactly Chen Feng, the owner of Tianlong Hotel. I was actually called by a phone. What's going on? Sun Jun looked incredulous and nervously said, Mr. Chun, listen to my explanation. What's going on? Chen Feng interrupted with a calm face. Damn it. I won't listen to your explanation. You go to the finance department immediately to settle your salary. Get lost forever. Sun Jun was so frightened that he trembled all over and could only leave in a disheveled state. Before leaving, he gave Ji Buoxiao a fierce glare. It's all his fault for causing me so much trouble. As for Ji Buoxiao, he had already looked confused and couldn't figure out the situation. Ye Tiance sneered and asked, Didn't you just say that when I fired Sun Jun, I would kneel down and call my dad? Come on. Ji Buoxiao's eyes twitched and he awkwardly smiled. Brother Yi, you misunderstood. I was just joking. Ye Tiance narrowed his cold eyes and said, You're joking. I'm not joking. You either kneel down today to call me dad, or have Mr. Chin's people break your legs and throw you out. Hang a sign outside the door, and Ji Buoxiao and the dog are not allowed to enter. Choose one. Ji Buoxiao said bitterly, Brother Yi, can we exchange it for another one? This is really. Ye Tiance said coldly, Since you don't want to choose, I'll help you choose to break your leg and throw it out. Don't. I can't choose yet. Ji Buoxiao clenched his fist and gritted his teeth, saying. Then he knelt down on the ground, unwilling to make a sound. Dad? Ye Tiance raised his eyebrows and said, Did your vocal cords fall at home? Speak louder. Ji Buoxiao's mouth twitched fiercely. My surname is Yi. I fell into your hands today. This revenge will be avenged. He took a deep breath and shouted loudly, Dad, Dad, Dad. Ye Tiance clapped his hands and said with a smile, My big brother, Dad taught you to learn to be a person with your tail between your legs in the future, otherwise you will suffer a big loss. Get out. Ji Buoxiao stood up and didn't want to stay for a second before slipping away. Due to being too nervous, he even fell and ate shit when going out. Ha ha ha. The customers burst out laughing. When did Ji Ershao, who was known for his domineering behavior in Jiangnan City, suffer such losses? It looks so great. Chen Feng respectfully asked, Mr. Yi, what else do you have to command? He actually had no idea about the man in front of him. The reason why he was so cautious was actually because Zhao Hailong called just now. There is only one command. You must obey Mr. Yi unconditionally. Ye Tiance shook his head and said, No, thank you. Chen Feng quickly said, Where are these words? Ultimately, it's all due to my lack of restraint towards my subordinates. As compensation, please accept this small gift. Speaking, he gave a glance to the assistant behind him. The latter quickly took out a wooden box from the office and opened it with both hands. I saw a snow-white ginseng lying in the square box, about a foot long, emitting a faint medicinal fragrance. Upon seeing this, surrounding customers exclaimed in surprise again. Isn't this the century-old snow ginseng that Chen Feng bought from the Jiangnan medicine king a few days ago? It was actually given to him. I heard that 100 years of snow ginseng can cure all kinds of diseases. It's hard to find 1,000 gold coins. What exactly is this kid's identity? It's worth Mr. Chun doing this. Han Ruoyun, who was standing beside him, was already stunned. She couldn't figure out how a useless son-in-law from the Xiao family who had been kicked out could achieve all of this. Ding-ling-ling. At this moment, the phone on the table suddenly rang, and she instinctively grabbed it to answer the phone. A somewhat anxious woman's voice came from across. Ye Tiance, it's me, Xiao Qingcheng. I want to apologize to you first. Actually, Han Ruoyun replied, I'm not Ye Tiance, I'm Han Ruoyun. Upon hearing this sentence, the voice across the street was clearly taken aback. After 2 seconds of silence, she asked, Where is Ye Tiance? Tell him to answer the phone. At this moment, Ye Tiance looked over and asked in confusion, What are you doing with my phone? Han Ruoyun finally realized that he had taken the wrong phone in a panic, but she pouted and said, Miss, it wasn't intentional. I want to ask you, why is your phone and I both have black, even the same ringtone? Ye Tiance didn't want to mess around with her and asked, What's up? I want to tell you. Xiao Qingcheng hesitated for a moment before suddenly changing his mind and saying, Grandpa suddenly fell ill and was hospitalized at the first hospital. I want to see you, so you decide whether to come or not. Ye Tiance anxiously asked, Grandpa is sick? What's going on? Do, but found out that the other party had hung up the phone. Think for a few seconds. He said to Chen Feng, Mr. Chun, I'll take this century-old snow ginseng for now. I won't take you for free. Chen Feng smiled respectfully and said, It's all what I deserve. Hand the century-old snow ginseng to Ye Tiance. Ye Tiance impatiently said to Han Ruoyun, Miss Han, please don't contact me again in the future. I can't bear it. Drop this sentence and leave directly. Han Ruoyun stomped his feet in anger and couldn't help but rage, saying, Ye Tiance, don't think that by using the trick of playing hard to get, I can take a liking to you. I'm delusional. Miss, I already have someone I like. He is a big shot who is 10,000 times better than you. When I win him over tomorrow night, I will make you angry. Dingling bell. This time, it was Han Ruoyun's phone ringing. and her father Han Tianjin called. Yun, how was your inquiry? Does Ye Tiance really have any background? Han Ruoyun was feeling upset and couldn't help but say, he has a fart, then hang up the phone and angrily leave the Tianlong Hotel. At the same time, at the private room on the second floor, a woman saw everything happening on the first floor. She was dressed in a silver qipao, with a plump figure and an extremely beautiful face. With fiery red lips, she exuded a charming and alluring aura of an imperial sister, captivating the soul. A tall maid wearing a black leather jacket and pants walked up to her and asked, Miss, what are you looking at? It's nothing. I just saw an interesting person. The woman in the qipao withdrew her gaze and said calmly, this time when I came to Jiangnan City from the provincial capital, besides participating in tomorrow night's bidding chamber of commerce and opening up the influence of the Rong family in Jiangnan City, I also need a clue about that man. Please be more careful and search for it. The maid whispered. Miss, are you worth it for a man you've never seen before? Besides, the engagement you have on your body? The woman in the Cheongsam spoke firmly. I have never seen the other half of the engagement before, and I don't even know his name, let alone want to know. I, Rong Meiyan, won't agree to that engagement. At 8 p.m., Jiangnan First Hospital. Ye Tiance rushed to the entrance of the ward and saw many members of the Xiao family. They instinctively became disgusted when they saw Ye Tiance. In their view, although the previous invitation letter from the Xiao family was cancelled and clarified that it had nothing to do with Ye Tiance, it still cannot change the fact that Ye Tiance is useless. Zhang Huilan and Xiao Nan are also present. Their cheeks are red and swollen, with obvious palm marks. This is all from kneeling and confessing at home before, slapping oneself in the face. At this moment, there is still a faint pain. What are you doing here? Zhang Huilan asked in an awkward tone. Ye Tiance answered truthfully. Qingcheng called and said that Grandpa suddenly fell ill. I came to visit him. Xiao Nan angrily scolded. My grandfather is sick. What's the relationship with you as an outsider? You useless thing, get out of here now. In his view, the fact that the mother and son insulted Zhao Hailong was exposed, leading to punishment. It must be Ye Tiance who played tricks secretly, although I don't know how he did it. The rest of the Xiao family also complained one after another. What came to visit the head of the household? It's obvious that you hate our Xiao family for driving you out and intentionally coming to see a joke. We don't need you to be hypocritical. Go as far as you can. Don't think that our Xiao family is restoring the quota for the bidding chamber of commerce and is about to win billions of orders. Just want to come back and continue holding onto our thighs? No way. Seeing the faces of these people, Ye Tiance frowned. Kind-hearted as a donkey's liver and lungs. Since you don't need me to visit, then forget it. Turn around and leave. Wait. At that moment, the ward door opened and Xiao Qingcheng walked out. Xiao Qingcheng looked at Ye Tiance with a complex expression. She had planned to apologize for wronging Ye Tiance, but the thought that he had just been with Han Ruoyun made her inexplicably uncomfortable and difficult to speak up. Ye Tiance was unclear about what she was thinking at the moment and asked directly, how is Grandpa doing? Xiao Qingcheng regained his composure and replied calmly. The doctor said he was in a hurry and has already escaped danger. He just lay down to rest and cannot be disturbed. Okay, then I won't go in, Ye Tiance nodded and said. Since the old man is out of danger, there is no need for him to stay here, so he plans to leave behind the 100-year snow ginseng. Pass the wooden box forward. This is for Grandpa. It's good for his physical recovery. Before Xiao Qingcheng could take the wooden box, Zhang Huilan stepped forward and snatched it open. After seeing what was inside, he looked disgusted and stuffed it back into Ye Tiance's hand. What kind of thing am I? Just the farm ginseng on this rotten street. How do you want to give it away? Where did it come from? Take it back where? Ye Tiance explained, this is a century-old snow ginseng, which can cure all kinds of diseases and is a very precious medicinal herb. Zhang Huilan sneered. Do you think I'm stupid? What's century-old snow ginseng? I've never heard of it. It looks like a dummy ginseng, and I even find it expensive to send a certain treasure for 9 yuan and 9 yuan. Xiaonan also said in a strange yin-yang way, you can blow a fake ginseng for 100 years to cure all kinds of diseases. If it were a white radish, perhaps it could be blown into a supreme radish for 10,000 years. After eating it, you would live forever, right? The Xiao family present burst into laughter. This waste, for the sake of pitiful dignity, this can be boastful. Even Xiao Qingcheng shook his head helplessly. She didn't understand why Ye Tiance never understood to be down-to-earth and insisted on doing things with a hollow head and brain. At this moment, a young man in a suit and leather shoes appeared in front of everyone. It's Jibuodwan. He greeted Xiao Qingcheng warmly and said, Qingcheng, I heard that the head of the Xiao family is sick, so I came specifically to take a look. Xiao Qingcheng responded with a displeased tone. You don't have to worry about my grandfather's affairs. Jibuodwan didn't feel embarrassed either. He knew that Xiao Qingcheng was angry because he lied and asked Zhao Hailong for help. Qingcheng, I did exaggerate the fact about the Chamber of Commerce quota, but the truth is by no means what you think. Without my efforts, Long Yi could not have changed his mind. Xiao Qingcheng frowned and said, what does that mean? Jibuodwan looked serious and said, to be honest, all of this is my dad's credit. It was because I begged my dad to take action and he called Long Yi to communicate, and the result was naturally successful. I was supposed to tell the truth, but in a moment of heat, I took the credit on myself. Now, thinking about it, I really regret it. The Xiao family suddenly nodded. Not long ago, they were discussing the reasons why Zhao Hailong changed his mind, but after much thought, they couldn't think of it. Now listening to Ji Buoduan's explanation, everything becomes logical. Pushi. At this moment, Ye Tiance couldn't help but laugh out loud. He has never seen such a shameless person since he was so big. Ji Boden's face darkened and he said, "What did you laugh about? Is there anything wrong with what Bin Xiao said?" Ye Tiance said calmly, "Are you wrong? You have a clear idea in your heart. I remind you to use lies to round another lie, and in the end, you can only make up for it with more lies." You. Ji Buoduan was stuttering when he was scolded. Zhang Huilan scolded Ye Tiance, "You useless thing. When is it your turn to interrupt here? It's not Ji Daxiao's father who helped, but who else can it be?" He gently said to Ji Buoduan, "Ji Daxiao, you don't need to be angry with that kind of person. Auntie believes you. Although you lied before, it's understandable. After all, it's also for the sake of the city." Ji Buoduan's face lit up with joy. I thought to myself, these foolish old ladies really know how to assist. So he took advantage of the hot weather and said, "Auntie, you're right. I promise that I won't make similar mistakes again in the future. By the way, this is the red lingji that I spent a lot of money on to buy for the Xiao family leader. Definitely a big supplement." He opened a gift box in his hand, which contained a red Ganoderma lucidum the size of a cattail fan, emitting a medicinal fragrance. Zhang Huilan's eyes lit up and she said, "Ji Das Ho, this lingji must be very valuable, isn't it?" Ji Buoduan pretended to be low-key and said, "It's just over 1 million. It's not a big deal." Everyone in the Xiao family was suddenly amazed. The gift of over 1 million yuan was really a big deal. Compared to the fake ginseng sent by Ye Tiance, it's simply a difference between heaven and earth. Ji Buoduan sarcastically said to Ye Tiance, "Remember, when giving gifts, you should learn from me and focus on delivering high-quality items, not worthless garbage." Ye Tiance said calmly, "What is there worth learning about a fake lingji? Besides, it's also poisonous." As soon as these words were spoken, the whole room fell silent. Fake lingji? Toxic? Everyone looked at Ji Buoduan. The latter's face immediately darkened and he said, "Fart. I bought this red lingji on behalf of a friend. Why is it fake lingji? You're slandering. I want you to apologize." Zhang Huilan sneered, "You're a soft eater. Do you know what lingji is?" "Shut up." The Xiao family, who were shocked a second ago, have all come back to their senses now, blaming Ye Tiance one after another. "You almost fooled me. What kind of identity is Ji Daso? How could he give fake lingji? I see that you are just not satisfied with Ji Daxiao's red lingji, deliberately smearing it." Xiao Qingcheng felt exhausted and said with a gloomy expression, "Ye Tiance, you shouldn't slander Ji Daso. Apologize." Before, Ye Tiance might back down and listen to her words. But now, there's no need. I saw him come forward and take the red lingji, click it, and directly break it off from the middle. This move frightened everyone's faces. "Is this kid crazy?" Ji Buoduan shouted loudly, "Dog thing. This red lingji is worth 1 million yuan. If it's damaged, can you afford to pay for it?" Ye Tiance ignored it and pointed to the black color in the middle of the Ganoderma lucidum, saying, "The true red Ganoderma lucidum has red roots and stems, but it is purple-black. True lingji has a slightly bitter taste and can be described as a bitter medicine, but it has a fragrant aroma. From the texture of the umbrella cap, it's not even red Ganoderma. Not even Ganoderma. It's poisonous red giant mushroom, which is highly toxic and can be life-threatening after taking it. If you don't believe it, check it online." A relative of the Xiao family refused to speak up and said, "Just check it." Then he was dumbfounded, because it was indeed not red lingji, but poisonous red giant mushroom. Now everyone is confused. Zhang Huilan and Xiao Nan opened their mouths wide and looked incredulous. Originally intended to mock Ye Tiance, he was slapped in the face instead, which was too painful. Xiao Qingcheng's face was even more spicy. Ye Tiance brought the poisonous red giant mushroom to Ji Buoduan's eyes and asked coldly, "Are you giving this to Grandpa for intentional homicide? Do you know how many years you will be sentenced to?" This? Ji Buoduan was so scared that he was sweating profusely. He didn't actually understand how a good red fungus could become a poisonous red giant mushroom. I had to grit my head and explain, "I didn't mean to. It must be my friend who helped me buy lingji. What I said is true." Ye Tiance said, "It's true or false? I only found out after reporting to the police." Ji Buoduan's face turned pale. At this moment, Zhang Huilan stood up to help him out and said, "Ji Daso said it wasn't intentional. You can't stop staring and not letting it go, right? Even if someone gave the wrong lingji, at least they spent money and care on it. It's not much better than giving a worthless dummy ginseng." Xiaonan followed suit and shouted angrily, "From what I see, you fake ginseng is truly poisonous. You must hold a grudge against our Xiao family and want to kill Grandpa. I won't let you, this dog, succeed." As he spoke, he suddenly grabbed a 100-year-old snow ginseng and threw it on the ground. "Lift your feet in front of everyone. Slap, slap. Instantly step on a thin shred." Ye Tiance's face darkened. "Do you know what you did?" Xiaonan arrogantly said, "I just stepped on your fake ginseng to prevent you from poisoning my grandfather. What happened?" Ye Tiance clenched his fist and said to Xiao Qingcheng, "Your brother. You should be disciplined now." Xiao Qingcheng frowned and said, "Xiaonan went too far, but he just stepped on a dummy ginseng and it's not a big deal. What else do you want?" Ye Tiance was momentarily taken aback, then shook his head in disappointment and said, "Very well. I hope you don't regret it." After chatting about this, he turned his head and left, no longer lingering. Zhang Huilan spat on the ground and said, "Pooh, what's there to regret about useless things being mysterious?" At this moment, the hospital director Wu Xingye walked over and said, "Although Lord Xiao is out of danger, his vitality is severely damaged. To recover his body, he needs precious and good medicine for recuperation. Please search for it." Xiao Qingcheng hurriedly asked, "Dean Wu, what precious medicine do you need? Could you please recommend it?" Wu Xingye replied, "I heard that some time ago, someone auctioned off 100-year-old snow ginseng from the Jiangnan Medicine King. If Lord Xiao takes it, it can not only cure this disease, but also prolong life. I'm not sure who auctioned it off, but I can ask someone to inquire." When you hear the 4 words century-old snow ginseng, Xiao Qingcheng's delicate body trembled. Seems to think of something very terrifying. She pointed to the ginseng on the ground that had been trampled by Xiao Nan and said, "Dean Wu, is this the century-old snow ginseng you mentioned?" "Oh." Wu Xingye bent down to pick up the crushed ginseng residue and broken ginseng beard for observation. Suddenly widening his eyes, he said, "This is 100-year-old snow ginseng. It looks top-notch. Where did you get it from? How did it break into such pieces?" Faced with Wu Xingye's questioning, Xiao Qingcheng awkwardly gave a brief account of the situation. Wu Xingye's beard trembled with anger. "This 100-year-old snow ginseng is worth at least 5 million yuan, and it has a price but no market. I haven't even seen it a few times. Are you just wasting it like this? It's like sending a heavenly creature." Upon hearing this, everyone in the Xiao family was heartbroken. Who would have thought that Ye Tiance, that useless person, was telling the truth? 5 million yuan worth of ginseng has been destroyed like this. Ji Buduan's face is also burning with pain. Xiao Qingcheng bit his lips tightly, his breathing intensified, and his heart tingled with pain. She actually misunderstood Ye Tiance again. Forcefully retracting her mind, she asked, "Dean Wu, can this century-old snow ginseng still be used?" Wu Xingye shook his head and said, "100 years of snow is different from other ginseng. It must be preserved intact in order to exert its effects. Now that it has rotted like this, the medicinal effect has dissipated, and there is not much value left." Xiao Qingcheng was so angry that he slapped Xiao Nan in the face and said, "It's all your fault for trampling on the century-old snow ginseng. What should we do now?" The rest of the Xiao family also pointed fingers at Xiao Nan, constantly complaining. Xiao Nan, like a quail, lowered her head and remained silent, blaming Ye Tiance in his heart for not explaining clearly earlier, causing him to lose face at this moment. After Wu Xingye leaves, the Xiao family began to discuss, curious about where Ye Tiance got the century-old snow ginseng. Zhang Huilan gritted her teeth and said, "It must have been stolen from somewhere. This kid's hands and feet are the least clean." But Xiao Qingcheng doesn't believe this statement. The century-old snow ginseng is so precious, how could it be easily stolen? It should have been gifted by someone, but she couldn't figure out who it was. But no matter what, this time she misunderstood Ye Tiance's heart. "Let's explain it clearly next time we meet." Quickly, she regained her composure and said, "I'll figure out a way to deal with traditional Chinese medicine. Tomorrow night will be the bidding chamber, and I'll go back to the company to prepare the documents. Mom, could you please take care of Grandpa with your brother in the next few days?" Zhang Huilan nodded and said, "Okay, then you go quickly." Xiao Qingcheng walked away quickly. "Qingcheng, I have some information to share with you. Let me go to the company with you." Ji Buduan quickly caught up. The rest of the Xiao family also left one after another, leaving only Zhang Huilan and her son in the end. In no time, the call bell in the ward rang. Zhang Huilan and Xiao Nan immediately went in. It turned out that Xiao Hongming had woken up. Zhang Huilan asked, "Dad, do you feel better now?" Xiao Hongming nodded weakly and asked, "I asked Qingcheng to call Tiance. Has he come yet?" Zhang Huilan and Xiao Nan exchanged a glance. Later, Xiao Nan said, "Grandpa, don't mention that white-eyed wolf. He never came and even said he wanted us to sever ties and not come back in the future." Xiao Hongming was a bit skeptical and said, "How could this be? He shouldn't be that kind of person. I'll give him a call and bring my phone." Xiao Nan quickly advised, "Grandpa, calling now will only make you angrier and worsen your condition. It's better to rest well and pretend you never know Ye Tiance." Sigh. Xiao Hongming sighed in disappointment and closed his eyes again. At 10 o'clock in the evening, Zijin Heavenly Palace. This is the most luxurious villa area in Jiangnan City, located on the Purple Mountain. The top of the mountain is the Purple Gold Heavenly Palace Villa No. 1, which is priced at up to 1 billion yuan. At this moment, Ye Tiance stood at the entrance of the villa, entered the password, pushed open the door, and swaggered in. Inside the villa, the decoration is luxurious and grand, like a palace. "This kid's lair is pretty good. For the sake of giving me his villa, I'll keep him locked up for a few years less." Ye Tiance nodded in satisfaction with his strategy. In fact, the original owner of this villa was Jiangnan war god Lin Feng. This person, relying on his exceptional martial arts skills, became the strongest in Jiangnan City in just a few years and was awarded the title of God of War, earning him great respect. However, 3.5 years ago, this person was full of confidence and went alone to challenge the master in that place. Few people know that that place is actually an isolated island prison called the Fallen City, imprisoning the world's most heinous criminals. There are the largest terrorist leader in the country of Iran, top assassins who have assassinated the emperor, and billionaires worth trillions of dollars. Master Ye Tiance is the warden of the prison, revered by the criminals as the old master, while Master Ye Tiance is the young master. The master and disciple have the power to control all life and death inside. The most invincible fierce man, in front of their master and disciple, has only the duty of kneeling, welcoming, and bowing down to pay homage. Since Master went on a trip 5 years ago, Ye Tiance has been the highest ruler of the fallen city. Those heavily convicted criminals flattered Ye Tiance in various ways in order to avoid suffering. Devote all your money, power, and connections. 3.5 years ago, the Jiangnan war god Lin Feng broke into the fallen city, claiming to wipe out all the masters. The result was knocked down by Ye Tiance with one mouthful. Due to Lin Feng kicking the gate of the fallen city and being punished by Ye Tiance, he was imprisoned in the fallen city for 10 years and was responsible for cleaning the toilets. At this point, Lin Feng seemed to disappear out of thin air, with no more news. 3 years ago, when Ye Tiance left the fallen city, Lin Feng took the initiative to give him the villa as a gesture of goodwill, hoping that Ye Tiance could save him a few years. However, after returning to Jiangnan City and marrying Xiao Qingcheng, Ye Tiance has been living with the Xiao family. So, this villa is his first time coming here. Ye Tiance leaned against the sofa, took out the remaining wedding books from his bag, and opened them one by one for a brief look. I returned 1 letter today, and there are still 8 wedding letters left. The other 8 people are not in Jiangnan City, so I need to go over one by one. The latest one is Rong Meiyan from the Rong family in the provincial capital. I heard that the Rong family is one of the 4 major families in the provincial capital, with a power far above the 3 major families in Jiangnan City. After I finish dealing with the matter at hand, let's go visit the Rong family first. Ye Tiance closed the wedding letter and put it in his bag. Just as he was about to take a shower, the doorbell of the villa suddenly rang. Through surveillance, a strange and charming beauty, wearing a silver qipao, stood outside the door. Outside the door, the Cheongsam woman said, "Jiangnan war god, I saw the villa with lights on. May I ask if you were there?" Ye Tiance frowned slightly and thought to himself, Lin Feng has been missing for 3.5 years. Why are there still women looking for him? Is she a promiscuous debt provoked by Lin Feng? Not to mention, this sexy style is the type that guy likes. Forget it. It's better not to deal with such women. Just ignore them. Ye Tiance blocked the doorbell and turned to the bathroom to take a shower, preparing to rest earlier. After all, the bidding chamber is still waiting for him tomorrow night. The unsuspecting Qipao woman continued, "I am Rong Meiyan from the Rong family in the provincial capital. I have been admiring your heroic deeds for a long time. Since you suddenly disappeared 3.5 years ago, I have been searching for news from you. I am very happy to see you back today. If possible, could you come out and meet me?" However, a few minutes passed and she did not receive any response. "Jiangnan war god, I won't disturb you anymore. I'll come visit you again when I have time." Rong Meiyan turned around and left, walking all the way to the entrance of the villa area on the mountainside. There is a tall maid waiting there. She saw an irresistible joy on Rong Meiyan's face and asked, "Miss, haven't you come to see the villa of Jiangnan war god a few times? Why are you so happy today?" Rong Meiyan smiled and said, "You don't know anything. What does it mean that the villa of the Jiangnan war god is lit today? He has returned after disappearing for 3.5 years. Really?" The maid looked excited, like the legendary Jiangnan war god. Which girl doesn't see him as an idol? Rong Meiyan nodded and said, "Unfortunately, he didn't come out to see me, but I can understand that he rarely appeared back then. Even if he did, he would still show his true face through a mask, and no one would have seen his true face." Then she suddenly thought of something and ordered, "Buy a villa in the Zijian villa area immediately. The closer it is to the number 1 villa of Jiangnan war god, the better." "Yes." Rong Meiyan turned around and looked at the top villa with all kinds of charm. As the saying goes, a tower near the water will receive the moon first. If we can get your help, our provincial capital Rongjia's expansion in Jiangnan City will be like a tiger adding wings. If my relationship with you can go further, then I have reason to refuse the family's engagement and don't have to marry that fiancé who doesn't even know his name. However, she did not know that the owner of Villa 1 was no longer the Jiangnan god of war. It's precisely the fiancé she doesn't want to marry. The next evening, at Yunding Hotel. At the entrance, there are luxury cars and horses, as well as wealthy officials and businessmen gathered here, all for the purpose of participating in tonight's bidding chamber. Ye Tiance has just arrived here from Villa number 1 in Zijin Tiangong. A red Maserati parked in front of him, and a woman standing 1.7 meters tall in a red dress got off the car. Her legs are slender, her facial features are exquisite, and her perfect figure exudes a unique and aloof temperament. It's Han Ruoyun. She was supposed to come with her father Han Tianjing tonight, but the family company had an urgent matter for Han Tianjing to handle, so Han Ruoyun came alone. Han Ruoyun directly blocked Ye Tiance's way. "What a coincidence. We met here, and you also came to participate in the bidding chamber?" Ye Tiance frowned and didn't want to talk to the narcissistic young lady. "Excuse me, please." Han Ruoyun did not follow suit. "If you tell me something, I'll just step aside. What's going on? Who did you call last night to dismiss Sun Jun? Or, what is your relationship with Lord Long?" Faced with Han Ruoyun's question, Ye Tiance simply replied, "No comment." Han Ruoyun gritted his teeth in anger. She never understood how the useless son-in-law who was kicked out by the Xiao family could make Qin Feng obey and dismiss Sun Jun. Does he really know Dragon Lord? Will he know the big shot behind Dragon Lord? If you know him, can you ask him what his preferences are? This way, she can also do her homework ahead of time. No, I happened to meet Ye Tiance here today and stopped to ask. I didn't expect the other party to not say a word. This bastard has really played hard to get to the extreme. Just as she was pondering how to deduce Ye Tiance's answer, two people and a woman are walking towards each other. The most dazzling one among them is a woman wearing a white hip-wrap skirt, a pair of black silk long legs, emitting a high cold atmosphere. It was Xiao Qingcheng who brought assistant son over. Ye Tiance, last night Xiao Qingcheng was about to explain a misunderstanding in the hospital last night when he suddenly caught a glimpse of a stunning woman wearing a red long dress next to him. No matter their appearance, figure, or temperament, they are no less than themselves. Especially that pair of contours, surprisingly even more magnificent than my own 36D. When Ye Tiance saw Xiao Qingcheng, a hint of complexity flashed in his eyes and he calmly asked, "What's the point of Mr. Xiao asking me for?" "It's nothing." Xiao Qingcheng shook his head, but his gaze was uncontrollable as he looked at the woman next to him. Who the hell is she? Why did he appear by Ye Tiance's side? At this moment, Han Ruoyun also noticed Xiao Qingcheng, and for some reason, she caught some hostility in the other person's eyes. A hint of cunning flashed in her eyes and she took the initiative to greet Xiao Qingcheng, saying, "Meet me. My name is Han Ruoyun." Xiao Qingcheng also reached out and said, "Hello, Xiao Qingcheng." Don't be fooled by her calm expression at this moment. Her heart has already been filled with turbulent waves. So this woman is Han Ruoyun? Did Ye Tiance really succeed in recruiting relatives to the Han family? It must be. Otherwise, Han Ruoyun wouldn't have answered his phone call last night. I won't stand together now. Thinking of this, Xiao Qingcheng felt inexplicably agitated. At this moment, Han Ruoyun seemed to think of something and whispered in Ye Tiance's ear, "This time, I will help you with the situation. Remember to answer my question later." Ye Tiance frowned and said, "No need." Han Ruoyun ignored it and slightly tilted his chin, saying, "So you are Ye Tiance's ex-wife." Long time. Long time. Although the language is gentle, the attitude is full of aggression. Xiao Qingcheng bit his lip and felt a sense of grievance in his heart. Although divorce was brought up by me, you turn around and show off with other women in front of me. Is this your nature? Xiao Qingcheng responded with a sneer. I am indeed his ex-wife. If I could have discovered earlier that he was being fickle with his marriage, I would only have proposed divorce earlier. Upon hearing this, Ye Tiance felt a bit displeased and said coldly, "You're the one who's half-hearted, right? Before you proposed to divorce, you were already confused with the Ji family." Xiao Qingcheng frowned and was about to argue that she and Ji Buoduan were only in a cooperative relationship. A familiar voice suddenly rang out from behind. "What's wrong with Qingcheng and Bin Xiao? That's a perfect match. It's definitely billions of times stronger than being useless and useless like you, right?" Ji Buoduan, dressed in a white suit, appears. He walked up to Xiao Qingcheng and praised, "Qingcheng, you are so beautiful today. I believe you will be the most shining star at tonight's Chamber of Commerce." Xiao Qingcheng seemed somewhat reluctant and said, "That doesn't necessarily mean." Ji Buoduan was stunned for a moment before noticing Han Ruoyun next to Ye Tiance. His eyes suddenly stunned. TSK, truly a miss of the Han family, her appearance is not inferior to that of Xiao Qingcheng. Metaphorically speaking, Xiao Qingcheng belongs to the cold lotus flower, which can only be viewed from afar and cannot be played with profanity. Han Ruoyun belongs to the blooming peony, proud and unparalleled, each with its own unique strengths. Of course, the waves on Han Ruoyun's chest were clearly more magnificent. This made Ji Buoduan's resentment towards Ye Tiance invisibly add another point. You were kicked away by Xiao Qingcheng in the front foot, and then you hugged a beautiful woman with more financial resources in the back foot. What kind of bad luck? He smiled and reminded Han Ruoyun, "Miss Han, I advise you to stay away from this garbage surnamed Yi. It's better to hand it over to my younger brother." Unexpectedly, Han Ruoyun looked disdainful and said, "Forget it. He only knows how to kneel down in public and call for dad. I can't afford to lose that person." Ji Buoduan's face darkened, and he felt a bit displeased. Last night when he returned home, he found that his younger brother Ji Buoxiao had been locking himself in the room, throwing things to vent his frustration. After a question, I learned about Ji Buoxiao's humiliating experience at the Tianlong Hotel, which humiliated the Ji family, causing the Chamber of Commerce to feel embarrassed to come tonight. He was originally curious. Where did Ye Tiance come from with the ability to communicate with the heavens and shine in the Tianlong Hotel? Now I understand. It must be Han Ruoyun's secret help, openly singing along with Ye Tiance. Joined forces to trick his younger brother. Ji Buoduan squinted his eyes and said, "This person surnamed Yi is just a white-eyed wolf, which is why he was kicked out of the city. Miss Han, you chose to take over second-hand goods. Isn't this not very good to spread? Of course, you don't care anymore." Han Ruoyun's pupils slightly narrowed. Of course she cared about this matter, but she, who is naturally stubborn, likes to sing against others. She suddenly hugged Ye Tiance's arm and made a very affectionate appearance. Raising her chin proudly, she said, "Miss, would you be happy to manage it?" Ji Buoduan is confused. Xiao Qingcheng is confused. Even Ye Tiance was a bit confused and asked in a low voice, "What are you doing?" He instinctively wanted to pull his hand out of the midst of that surging pair. But Han Ruoyun hugged him even tighter and warned, "Don't move around." Upon seeing this, Xiao Qingcheng's eyes flashed with a hint of desolation, and he self-deprecatingly said, "Ye Tiance, you've already chosen a way out. Hee, congratulations." Originally, she had some illusions about the relationship between Ye Tiance and Han Ruoyun, believing it to be a coincidence. Now look, everything is solid. Ye Tiance frowned. He had intended to explain, but he realized that even if he said it himself, what use would it be? Has she ever heard me explain? So he didn't speak up. Xiao Qingcheng regained his former coldness and said, "Ye Tiance, you once said you would make me regret bringing up a divorce, but now I am extremely certain that this is the wisest choice I have made." Putting aside these words, she and assistant Sun entered the Yunding Hotel first. Ji Boden stepped forward and patted Ye Tiance on the shoulder. He sneered, "I only rely on women's trash. In my eyes, it's nothing. Our old accounts, I'll find you to slowly figure them out." Ye Tiance took away Ji Boden's hand. "There are some old accounts, you don't need to find me. I will also find your home and slowly figure them out." Ji Boden didn't recognize another meaning in Ye Tiance's words and didn't take it seriously at all. With a cold snort, he turned around to pursue Xiao Qingcheng. At this moment, Han Ruoyun released Ye Tiance's arm and distanced himself a little. He complained, "Humph, I almost suffocated, miss. You took so much advantage of me." Ye Tiance said helplessly, "It was clearly you who took the initiative to hug me, but it wasn't me who took the initiative. But it has to be said that my arms felt quite comfortable just now, very soft." "I don't care," Han Ruoyun ordered. "Anyway, I'll accompany you in acting and help you save face. You have to answer my previous question. What is your relationship with Lord Long? Do you know the big shot behind him?" Ye Tiance said, "That big shot is me." Han Ruoyun immediately stared and said, "You're talking nonsense. Long Yi is the chairman of Tianlong Group, and even my father, the richest man, needs to be treated with respect. How could the big shot behind him be a son-in-law like you who was kicked out of the Xiao family? You know, that big shot is the man she admires. It can't be second-hand goods that others don't want." Ye Tiance rolled his eyes and said, "If you don't say you're persistent and don't believe me, it's really difficult to serve. Let's go. Go straight away." Han Ruoyun stomped his feet in anger behind him and said, "You bastard. You're just eating someone else's tofu for free and not doing anything. If you go in later and meet your ex-wife, I won't care about you." The Yunding Hotel, inside the Chamber of Commerce Hall, is very lively. Guests present can either exchange glasses or engage in friendly negotiations. In the center of the hall, Assistant Sun complained, "Mr. Xiao, you shouldn't have given that wide-eyed wolf face when you were outside just now. You should have stomped on him hard. I can't stand his arrogance." Xiao Qingcheng said, "Let's not care about what I do with him for now, but he is at least genuinely filial to his grandfather. Otherwise, he wouldn't have given Millennium Snow Ginseng as a gift. For this reason, I can't do anything wrong." Assistant Sun reminded, "Why are you so confused? When someone surnamed Yi gives Millennium Snow Ginseng, where is filial piety? It's clear that he feels like he's holding onto the thigh of the richest woman and deceiving her into buying Millennium Snow Ginseng, and then intentionally giving gifts to show off, to prove that you're wrong in proposing a divorce." Xiao Qingcheng was momentarily stunned, with a hint of sadness flashing in his eyes. "Is this the truth?" Ji Boden angrily said, "Qingcheng, if you win the bid tonight and receive a 10 billion order, what if the richest woman is in front of you? Besides, let me introduce the big shot behind Long Yi to you. Once he sees him, he will surely soar to fame and regret only that useless person." Assistant Sun looked forward to asking, "Ji Das Ho, do you really have a way to help recommend that big shot?" Ji Boden pretended to be profound and said, "That's nature." And he added mysteriously, "Not only that, but the day after tomorrow is my father's 60th birthday, and even that big shot will come to the scene to congratulate him. Qingcheng, you must come with your family then." You should know that before he arrived today, his father Ji Wuli had already specially visited Zhao Hailong and asked Long Yi to help the Ji family connect with that important person, even willing to give half of their property as a gift for the meeting. Therefore, in Ji Boden's view, the Ji family has already boarded the giant ship of that. Xiao Qingcheng nodded eagerly and said, "I will definitely go and congratulate your father." The arrival of Xiao Qingcheng quickly attracted the attention of many guests. The insider news about the Xiao family winning the bid has long been circulating, so these people have come to toast and visit one after another. There are two middle-aged men walking in front of me. A person wearing a gray suit raised his glass and smiled. "Mr. Xiao, you are both talented and beautiful. Please take good care of your business in the future." Another person wearing a Zhongshan suit said to Shan Dao, "Congratulations to Mr. Xiao for winning the bid in advance and working together more in the future." Xiao Qingcheng remained calm and composed on his face, responding with an uncontrollable excitement in his heart. Because these two are Li Jingye, chairman of Ningyuan Group, and Xie Bin, chairman of Hongda Group. The power in Jiangnan City is second only to the three major families, far stronger than the Xiao family. Now, being polite to oneself is inseparable from the news of winning the bid. This makes her believe more. After tonight, the fact will prove that she is right in proposing a divorce. Wrong, it will only be Ye Tiance. In the corner of the venue, Ye Tiance casually found a chair to sit down. He looked at the time and found that it was only 7:10. and there were still 50 minutes left until the official start of the business association at 8 o'clock. At this moment, the phone rang and Xiao Hailong called. Mr. Yi, I have 2 things to report to you. Say. Xiao Hailong respectfully said, the first thing is that Ji Wooly just contacted me and wanted me to help connect with you. For this, he is willing to dedicate half of his assets to you, and even wants to invite you to his 60th birthday the day after tomorrow. Ye Tiance said calmly, let him go. In fact, even if Ji Wooly didn't invite him, Ye Tiance had already decided to attend the birthday celebration. After all, the only clue to the big fire in the Yi family was in the Ji family. Xiao Hailong continued, the second item is that the final candidate list for tonight's bid has been reselected, and the electronic file has been sent to your email. Could you please make a choice? Got it. Ye Tiance hung up the phone and clicked on his mobile email. There are a total of 5 candidates on the final list, and the Xiao family is still on the list. Although it was previously confirmed that Xiao Jia won the bid, to be honest, Xiao Jia has no flaws in terms of strength, development potential, and bidding documents, and has extremely strong competitiveness. Of course, this cannot be achieved without my covert support over the past 3 years. As for the remaining 4, 3 of them each have obvious shortcomings and will not be considered. Only the last Huwei group has comparable conditions to the Xiao family in all aspects, and some conditions are even stronger. According to the notes, although Huwei group has only been established for half a year, it looks ordinary. But the companies that competed with them before either went bankrupt or were forcefully acquired, unstoppable. After a detailed investigation, Xiao Hailong found out that the Huwei group had intricate connections with the largest underground force in Jiangnan City, the Black Tiger Association. Very few people know this news. Ye Tiance muttered to himself, I remember when I was in the prison of the fallen city, there was a man named Zhang Xiaohu who did a good job of picking feces and asked me to release him in advance. I heard that shortly after he left, an organization called the Black Tiger Society was established. Is it him? At this moment, a graceful woman wearing a white qipao walked over. Sir, is there anyone next to me? He leaned down slightly and asked. No one. Ye Tiance raised his head and instinctively replied. When he saw this charming woman, he was taken aback and said, Is that you? Rong Meiyan raised her eyebrows and asked, Have you ever seen me? Ye Tiance suddenly realized that he had almost slipped his tongue, so he awkwardly added, Sorry, I mistook the wrong person. The romantic dead-owed by the Jiangnan war god Lin Feng. He doesn't want to get involved. So the 2 of them sat quietly without disturbing each other. But Ye Tiance was unaware that the 2 fiancées next to him were on his marriage certificate. Similarly, Rong Meiyan didn't know that Ye Tiance was the fiancée she didn't want to marry. At this moment, a strange and sinister sound suddenly sounded. Yi, I didn't expect you to sneak in too. You must have borrowed Miss Han's light, right? Ji Buoduan swaggered over, intending to pour a glass of red wine. Unexpectedly, when he saw Ye Tiance, he came over to mock him. Ye Tiance responded coldly, Does this have anything to do with you? Ji Buoduan raised his red wine glass and said with a haughty demeanor, The bidding chamber hosted by Lord Long is not open to dignitaries or celebrities. What face do you have sitting here? A son-in-law who has been expelled from the Xiao family. Get out of here. Ye Tiance's expression remained calm, and he said, Can you ask Xiao Hailong if he wants me to leave? Can he continue to run this business association? Ji Buoduan immediately rebuked, Dare. You also deserve to call Long Ye's name taboo? If it reaches Long Ye's ears, even Miss Han cannot protect you. Ye Tiance leaned back in his chair and said calmly, Why do I need someone else to take responsibility for my actions? Ji Buoduan laughed out loud directly. This kid is so arrogant that he has lost his sanity. However, when he accidentally caught a glimpse of the Cheongsam woman next to Ye Tiance, his eyes immediately widened. What a stunning woman. Unlike Xiao Qingcheng's cold beauty and Han Ruoyun's proud beauty, the woman in the qipao in front of me is more charming, beautiful but not demonic, gorgeous but not vulgar. He has never seen it before. He tidied up his tie and smiled confidently, reaching out his hand to Rong Meiyan and saying, Hello, beautiful woman. I am Ji Buoduan, the eldest son of the Ji family, one of the 3 major families in Jiangnan. Let's get to know each other. Rong Meiyan only nodded as a gesture and did not reach out. Ji Buoduan awkwardly withdrew his hand and reminded, This beautiful woman, the person next to you is a disaster star. I advise you to stay away from him to avoid encountering misfortune. Rong Meiyan first glanced at Ye Tiance, then smiled faintly and said, Are you asking me to do something? She wore a harmless smile on her face, but her tone exuded a strong sense of authority, which cannot be resisted. I have never seen this in his father Ji Wooly. Before understanding the other party's details, Ji Buoduan dared not venture forward and could only awkwardly apologize. No, there's no point in that. Then he gave Ye Tiance a fierce glare and left. He had just walked a short distance when he met Han Ruoyun walking towards him, looking around as if looking for something. Ji Buoduan's eyes turned, and he took the initiative to ask, Miss Han, are you looking for someone surnamed Yi? Han Ruoyun said coldly and arrogantly, What does it have to do with who I'm looking for, miss? Of course it has nothing to do with me, but... Ji Buoduan casually pointed to Ye Tiance's side and added fuel to his jealousy, saying, But that person surnamed Yi is sitting with some unfamiliar beauty. He's hooked up, who knows why. Han Ruoyun followed his finger and saw Rong Meiyan beside Ye Tiance. Although she didn't know each other, her intuition told her that their identity was not simple, and they were still sitting next to Ye Tiance. She suddenly understood that Ye Tiance had no background, let alone knew that big shot. The reason for being so arrogant is entirely because of the woman next to me. This bastard, if he doesn't have the ability, it's okay. He's still flirting with women everywhere. What kind of thing? Ji Buoduan asked. Miss Han, won't you come over and take a look? Take a look. Han Ruoyun didn't take a good breath and just turned around and went somewhere else. Ji Buoduan smiled proudly and said, Yi, without Miss Han's protection, how else can you dance? At this moment, Xiao Qingcheng and Assistant Sun walked over. Assistant Sun asked, Ji Da So, where were you just now? We've been looking for you. Ji Buoduan will recount what happened just now, adding fuel and vinegar to certain areas. Upon hearing this, Xiao Qingcheng glanced at Ye Tiance's side. I feel very congested in my heart, and my disgust towards him has increased even more. Assistant Sun spat and said, Pooh, Soft Rice Man is really disgusting. He kneels and licks when he sees a wealthy woman. I suspect he entered the Chamber of Commerce just to get along with the rich woman. Jibo nodded and said, If you want me to tell you, this impure bastard should find a security guard to kick him out. Xiao Qingcheng sighed and said, Forget it. As long as he doesn't affect the Chamber of Commerce, after all, the bidding results will be more important later. Assistant Sun glanced at his phone and suddenly changed his expression, saying, Mr. Xiao, hurry up and take a look at the Jiangnan Business Forum. What happened? Xiao Qingcheng opened his phone in confusion and logged into the Jiangnan Business Forum. This is a forum specifically designed for business elites in Jiangnan City, where various insider business news will be updated. A 99% fidelity rate. Previously, whether it was the Xiao family being selected as the winning bidder or the big shot behind Zhao Hailong appearing tonight, these messages were all leaked from here. Just now, someone anonymously posted on the forum that the bidding of the Tianlong Chamber of Commerce was determined to be won by the Xiao family, but suddenly changed to 5 new candidates. The Longyi has already submitted it to the big shot for approval and is waiting for the final result. Below are also various information about 5 companies. Xiao Qingcheng's face turned ugly and he said, Why did the winning bid suddenly become a candidate for 5? Assistant Sun was puzzled and asked, Ji Da So, it wasn't because you said you were mediating and it was already confirmed that our Xiao family won the bid. What's going on? This. Where does Ji Buoduan know what's going on? But he could only grit his head and explain, Well, isn't there still the Xiao family on the list? It's just that there are 4 more candidates, and your conditions are excellent in all aspects. Don't worry. You will definitely win the bid. Xiao Qingcheng shook his head and said, The other 3 are fine, but Huawei Group has been gaining popularity in our Jiangnan city recently. There are rumors that it has a big background and is competing with them. I have no confidence in my heart. Ji Buoduan patted his chest and said, Our Ji family knows that big shot. We just won the bid. I'll call my dad right away and make sure it's done. Xiao Qingcheng said repeatedly, Thank you. Ji Buoduan walked to the other side and called his father Ji Wuli several times, but no one answered. Finally, he could only send a few messages to ask if he could be of any help. At the same time, Ye Tiance has replied to Zhao Hailong's email and decided that the winning bidder will be Xiao Jia. This is not because he licks his dog and reminisces about old relationships, but because he feels that the black tiger behind Huawei Group has complex relationships and is not suitable for cooperation. Considering the actual interests of the group, it is reasonable to choose the Xiao family. Ye Tiance got up and went to the self-service area to pour out a drink, only to encounter Ji Buoduan who called back. Ji Buoduan sneered coldly, You're a coward. Are you here specifically to eat and drink? Ye Tiance frowned and was about to respond. Assistant Sun quickly rushed over and scolded, Yi, are you sick? Why do you always trouble Ji Da Xiao? Xiao Qingcheng, who had also come over, also had a dissatisfied expression. Ye Tiance said coldly, Keep your eyes wide open and see clearly. It's him who's causing trouble, not me. Assistant Sun disdainfully said, Nonsense. Ji Da Xiao is currently contacting the big shot behind Longyi to help the Xiao family win the bid. How could he have bothered you? Do you think everyone is as petty as you? Strive to win the bid? Ye Tiance shook his head and said, There's no need at all, because I've already decided that the Xiao family won the bid. Upon hearing this, Assistant Sun immediately sneered, Don't be funny. Do you think you're that big shot who can decide the winning bid? Xiao Qingcheng impatiently said, Since we have already filed for divorce, let's settle it separately. Could you please stop causing trouble for me? I'm not in the mood to joke with you either. Ye Tiance said calmly, I'm not joking. The big shot you're talking about is me. Ji Buoduan laughed out loud and said, Laugh to death. What kind of identity is that big shot? He's also someone you can impersonate as a coward. If you were really him, you wouldn't have eaten 10 pounds of dog poop on the spot. Xiao Qingcheng supported her forehead and shook her head. She felt that Ye Tiance must be crazy. At this moment, Li Jingye, chairman of Ningyuan Group, and Xie Bin, chairman of Hongda Group, walked quickly and toasted. Mr. Xiao, congratulations. Leading the Xiao family to win the bid and win 10 billion orders. A toast to you. Let's have more cooperation between our 2 groups in the future. Xiao Qingcheng was a bit confused by this sudden scene. Awkwardly explained, To be honest with everyone, our Xiao family is going to compete with 4 companies, and the specific results will have to wait for the approval of that big shot before we know. We haven't produced any results yet. Li Jingye smiled and said, Mr. Xiao is really low-key. The forum news just updated, saying that the big shot has decided to win the bid by the Xiao family. How can we say there is no result? Upon hearing this, Xiao Qingcheng immediately clicked on the mobile forum and indeed saw the insider news of the Xiao family winning the bid. At exactly 8 o'clock, Long Yi will appear on stage with that big shot to announce the result. Assistant Sun and Ji Budwan both saw this news. Assistant Sun cheered and said, "Great! Mr. Xiao, we have finally succeeded." Xiao Qingcheng was equally excited, and his hanging heart could finally be let go. Unexpectedly, as Ye Tiance said, the Xiao family won the bid. Just, how could he have known in advance? Is it really? Xiao Qingcheng instinctively looked at Ye Tiance, hesitating whether to ask. Assistant Sun quickly reminded, "Mr. Xiao, please say thank you to Mr. Ji. It must be his credit for winning the bid." Xiao Qingcheng suddenly realized. Yeah, Ye Tiance, how could he do that? So he immediately thanked Ji Budwan and said, "Ji Das Ho, I really trouble you." Ji Budwan's expression remained calm and said, "No trouble. It's all my dad's help after all. I just made a phone call." The humility of these words cannot be concealed from the expression on one's face. He inferred that it must have been his father who saw the message he sent and helped out. Assistant Sun glanced at Ye Tiance and said, "Do you see that? Rinji Daso has a clear hand and eyes, but his actions are low-key and humble. Unlike you, he doesn't have the ability to fart and only boasts and invites credit." Ji Budwan sneered, "Loser, after staying in the lower world for a long time, he likes to seduce himself and be awesome. In fact, it's not bullshit." Ye Tiance raised his eyebrows and asked, "Ji Budwan, why do you believe that your father helped solve this matter?" Ji Budwan shook off his bangs and said arrogantly, "It's not my dad. Can you still be the one who solves this problem?" Ye Tiance squinted his eyes and asked, "Oh, do you have any evidence that your father did it?" Ji Budwan gritted his head and said, "My dad sent me a text message saying it was him who did it." "What happened?" Ye Tiance frowned. He has never seen such a shameless person before. "Could you please ask Mr. Ji to pull out the text message and show it to everyone? How about that?" But as soon as he finished speaking, Xiao Qingcheng suddenly shouted, "Ye Tiance, are you finished or not?" She stared at Ye Tiance with a resentful expression on her face. "Ji Dasho repeatedly conceded to you, insisting on taking advantage of your situation. Even for the sake of such a little bit of pitiful dignity, he targeted you without reason and lied to you. I didn't expect you to be this kind of person." Ye Tiance frowned and said, "Do you think I'm targeting you for no reason? Is it a habit of lying?" Xiao Qingcheng said seriously, "Isn't it?" Ye Tiance laughed in silence. It turns out that the love of a 3-year marriage cannot even be compared to a single word from an outsider. Ye Tiance did not respond. Xiao Qingcheng thought he had agreed, so he became even more angry. "Your petty behavior will only make me more convinced that divorce is the most correct choice, and I will never regret it. In my eyes, the gap between you and Ji Dashao is like heaven and earth." Ji Budwan was overjoyed in his heart, and the yin-yang monster said, "Qingcheng, there's no need to vent my anger with this kind of clown. Ultimately, it's all because I'm too excellent, especially when I contacted that big shot to help your family win the bid, which caused this clown to completely break through his defense, be powerless and furious. Stay away from him in the future." Assistant Sun glared and scolded, "Those who eat soft food, didn't you hear me? Why don't you get away?" Ye Tiance looked at Xiao Qingcheng's heartless face and felt a faint pain in his heart. This time, he was completely disappointed. Since that's the case, let them tinker with it. Just as he was about to leave, a ruffian yellow-haired young man walked over with a cigarette in his mouth and asked Ji Budwan calmly, "Did you contact that big shot and help the Xiao family win the bid?" Ji Budwan glanced at the unfamiliar man in front of him and nodded arrogantly, "Exactly. Are you here to ask Ben Xiao for help?" Bang. I didn't expect the young man with yellow hair to punch him in the face. "Please be numb." Ji Boden's nostrils were bleeding on the spot, and he took several steps back. Everyone present was surprised. Where did this yellow hair come from? Even Ji Dashao dares to fight? Lai Jingye scolded, "You're being reckless. This is not where you're going wild." Xiebin also said in a deep voice, "Dog thing. Apologize to Ji Daso immediately." The young man with yellow hair pointed at the two and scolded, "Shut up. It's none of your business." At this moment, Ji Boden touched his nosebleed and gritted his teeth angrily, asking, "Who are you? Why did you hit me?" The young man with yellow hair arrogantly said, "Mother Shi Pai. I am Zhang Chunlei, the boss of Huwei Group. If it weren't for your interference, how could you have been snatched by the Xiao family for winning the bid? Mind your own business, right? This young man wants your dog's life." Speaking, another punch rushed up. However, Ji Budwan, who had learned Taekwondo, first dodged this punch and then kicked Zhang Chunlei to the ground with a high whip leg. Ji Budwan angrily added a few more kicks. "Damn it, if I want to blend in, I'll just blend in. What's up? If you have the ability, why don't you give it a try again? If you pretend to be feeling good and just get punched in vain, your mood will definitely explode." Xiao Qingcheng quickly handed Ji Budwan a tissue and said with a worried expression, "Sorry, if it weren't for me, you wouldn't have been caught up in it and got punched for nothing." Ji Budwan wiped away his nosebleeds and said with a deep affection, "Qingcheng, for your sake, not to mention shedding some blood, even if I have this life, I won't blink my eyes." Assistant Sun couldn't help but applaud when he saw the situation and said, "Wow, Ji Dasho, you are really handsome and have such a sense of security." Lai Jingye spoke up and said, "Even a small boss of Huwei Group dares to provoke Ji Dasho? I don't know how to live or die." Xiebin agreed and said, Ji Daso has great courage and insight. Mr. Xiao, your talent for selecting people is excellent. Xiao Qingcheng couldn't help but feel a hint of warmth in his heart. Assistant Sun glanced at Ye Tiance and said, look at what Ji Daso has done for Mr. Xiao. Look at you again. Nothing, just embarrassing yourself here. Xiao Qingcheng's eyes were also filled with disappointment. Sure enough, the comparison between people is even greater than the difference between people and dogs. Zhang Chunlei got up and said with a fierce expression, Mother Sheepy, you have offended someone who shouldn't have been offended today. I will not only kill you today, but also play hard with the Xiao family women next to you. Jibo stepped up and kicked Zhang Chunlei back several steps. Hee, who should I provoke? It's ridiculous. In the entire Jiangnan city, there are people my Ji family can't afford to provoke. The words have just finished. Suddenly, several fierce black-clad men rushed in from the entrance of the reception hall, firmly surround Ji Buduan in the middle. Then, a bald man with scars on his face walked in, his powerful aura overwhelming him. His cold gaze fell on Ji Boden. Today I want to see if the Ji family in Jiangnan can afford to provoke our Black Tiger Club. The appearance of these people immediately caused a great shock. The Black Tiger Society is the largest underground force in Jiangnan City, and its president, Zhang Xiaohu, is also known as the Underground Emperor, the Tiger Lord. Even the Jiangnan King, the Dragon Lord, must yield 3 points. Just the Ji family in Jiangnan, where dare they provoke? Ji Boden swallowed his saliva and asked the bald man, Are you? The bald man coldly said, I am Feng Lei from the Black Tiger Society. As soon as these words were spoken, the onlookers began to discuss. Black Tiger knows Feng Lei? He is one of the 2 great Vajras under Tiger Lord's command, an absolute confidant. I heard that Feng Lei has carried more than 10 lives on his body. Last year, a wealthy second generation from another city offended him and was directly cut off his limbs, thrown into the river to feed Wang Ba. His family dare not even fart. Upon hearing everyone's discussion, Ji Buduan's face changed. Immediately, he flattered and said, It turns out to be Brother Lei, whom I have admired for a long time. Don't misunderstand me. I dare not have any intention of targeting the Black Tiger Society with that sentence just now, but rather teach Zhang Chunlei a lesson. Please don't take it amiss. Pop. I didn't expect Feng Lei to slap Ji Buduan directly. Feng Lei squinted his eyes and asked coldly, Do you know the identity of young Master Chunlei? Ji Buduan covered his swollen cheeks and shook his head, saying, I don't know. Pop. This time, Zhang Chunlei came over and slapped Ji Buduan in the face. Raise your dog's ears and listen carefully. My uncle's name is Zhang Xiaohu, and I am his only nephew. Got it? Upon hearing these words, everyone around almost dropped their jaws in shock. No wonder Huwei Group has made rapid progress in the past 6 months. It turns out that there is such a relationship behind it. As is well known, although Tiger Lord is close to women, he has no wife or children, and even no illegitimate children. Zhang Chunlei is actually his only biological nephew? This weight is not low. At this moment, Ji Buduan only felt his brain buzzing. I wanted to act like a force, but I didn't expect to kick the iron plate. So he explained with a mournful expression, Zhang Xiao, listen to me, this is all a misunderstanding. Bang. Before he could finish speaking, Zhang Chunlei kicked him in the stomach. Then there's another round of 8 punches. I misunderstood you for being numb. Mother Sheepai, what was the strength of hitting the young master just now? Use it. Ji Buduan tightly hugged his head and dared not fight back at all, because he understands that if he hits Zhang Chunlei with just 1 finger today, he will have to spend his life with him tomorrow, and the whole family will have a feast. Lai Jingye and Xie Bin, who had been standing next to Ji Buduan before, exchanged a glance and took a few steps back, hiding in the crowd for fear of being targeted by Zhang Chunlei. Not to mention standing up for a fight. Stop fighting. Just then, a cold voice sounded. Xiao Qingcheng stood out from the crowd with a solemn expression. Zhang Chunlei shook his sour fist and raised an eyebrow at Xiao Qingcheng, saying, If you tell me not to hit, why should I listen to you? Xiao Qingcheng frowned and said, This matter was originally initiated by our Xiao families bidding with your Huwei Group. It is a normal commercial competition, and everything is based on commercial means. Why do you hit people? Zhang Chunlei kicked Ji Buduan down and walked up to Xiao Qingcheng. In-sun said, Young master, if I want to hit someone, I will hit them. Do you disagree? Xiao Qingcheng was afraid of this scoundrel for the first time, but he pretended to be calm and said, Please let go of Ji Daso and discuss something. A hint of greed flashed in Zhang Chunlei's eyes and he said, No problem, but you have to promise me 2 conditions. Xiao Qingcheng asked, What conditions? Zhang Chunlei smirked and said, I heard that you, Mr. Xiao, are the most beautiful CEO in Jiangnan City. Today, you are even more beautiful than rumors. So my first condition is to sleep with me tonight and take care of the young master. Xiao Qingcheng frowned and reminded, Zhang Xiao, please take care of yourself. Zhang Chunlei said with a frivolous expression, I don't read much, and the word self-worth is not in the dictionary. TSK. Look at the black silk you're still wearing today, with letters on it. How do you know that I like this the most? Let me check if it's sturdy. He bent down and touched Xiao Qingcheng's legs. Rogue. Xiao Qingcheng was so scared that he took a step back and forcefully pushed Zhang Chunlei. Nyang Sheepy, you little slut. Pop. Zhang Chunlei slapped Xiao Qingcheng directly and ordered, Control this woman. The two strong men in black brought by Feng Lei each held onto Xiao Qingcheng's arms. Release me! Release me! Xiao Qingcheng struggled fiercely, but to no avail. Upon seeing this, Assistant Sun sternly warned Zhang Chunlei. This is the Tianlong Chamber of Commerce organized by Lord Long. If you start beating people and causing trouble in the venue, won't you be afraid of Lord Long's anger? Zhang Chunlei sneered and said, Isn't Long Yi still not here? Besides, even if he is, what would happen? No big deal. I'll call Uncle over. What can Long Yi do for me? Assistant Sun had no choice but to ask for help from Ji Budwan. Ji Da So, you have great powers. Think of a way quickly. You can't let Mr. Xiao be bullied by this bastard. Ji Budwan lowered his head like a quail, as if he hadn't heard it. I dare not even glance at Zhang Chuanhu. Zhang Chuanhu smiled at Xiao Qingcheng and said, As for the second condition, it is that you give me the result of winning the bid. You're dreaming. Xiao Qingcheng glared fiercely at Zhang Chuanhu, without any intention of giving in. You should know that for this bidding, she has put in countless efforts, which is related to the rise of the Xiao family. How could she easily transfer it to someone else? Zhang Chunlei raised his eyebrows and said, No? That's great. Then he ordered Feng Lei, Brother Feng, could you please take action? Damn it. Feng Lei walked up to Ji Boden, stepped on his head, bent down, squatted down, and pulled out a dagger. The cold blade swayed before Ji Budwan's eyes, and he said eerily, Where should we start first? Why don't we cut off our ears first? Ji Budwan's face turned pale with fear, and he quickly begged for mercy, saying, Brother Feng, Grandpa Feng, please stop. I have something to say. He tore his neck and shouted, Qingcheng, what the hell are you hesitating about? Hurry to let Zhang Xiao win the bid. Sleep with Zhang Xiao again. I don't hate you anyway. Do you really want me to die here? Upon hearing this, Xiao Qingcheng's delicate body trembled suddenly, and a wave of grievances, shame, and anger surged in his heart. She couldn't believe that Ji Budwan would say such things to protect herself. Is it true that he said he would take care of himself before? Xiao Qingcheng glanced at Ye Tiance again, seeing him standing there as if he had nothing to do with himself, drinking his drink with a plain expression. Hee. Sure enough, Minar. Zhang Chunlei took advantage of the heat and continued to threaten Xiao Qingcheng, saying, I see that your assistant is very loyal. If you don't agree to the two conditions I proposed, believe it or not, I will hand her over to the brothers in the club for rotation. By the way, in the lives of your entire family, it's all between your thoughts and choices. Xiao Qingcheng, who has always been aloof and calm in times of crisis, finally couldn't hold his breath at this moment. Tears pattered down. Faced with the threat of Zhang Chunlei's entire family's life and the safety of Assistant Sun, she has no chance of resistance. Defeated completely and thoroughly, she bit her lips and said unwillingly, I agree. You, let the others go. Haha, all right. Zhang Chunlei exclaimed excitedly, everyone present today is a witness. It was the Xiao family who took the initiative to hand over the winning bid to Huwei Group, not the young master who coerced me. He glanced coldly at the crowd and threatened in his tone. If you have any objections, you can come forward and tell me. Guests around lowered their heads and dared not look directly at him. Li Jingye and Xiebin are even more so. This gave Zhang Chunlei great satisfaction in his heart. But at this moment, a voice echoed softly, Ye Tiance suppose. Shua. In this moment, all eyes fell on him. Zhang Chunlei said with a cold expression, Do you object? Why? Ye Tiance inserted his hands into his pockets. With an indifferent expression, he said, Just because I won the bid for the Xiao family, without my permission, anyone who listens to me clearly has no right to change it. Violators die. Ye Tiance's words carry strong penetrating power in indifference, like thunder on the flat ground. Xiao Qingcheng's eyes were filled with surprises. She didn't expect that at such a moment, it was Ye Tiance who dared to stand up. From a distance, Han Ruoyun also looked over and instinctively squeezed a sweat for Ye Tiance. What the hell is this bastard doing? Are you okay? Farther away, Rong Meiyan, wearing a white qipao, sat there like a queen, gazing at everything in her eyes, lost in thought. In short, Ye Tiance at this moment is the focal point of the entire venue's vision. Zhang Chunlei looked up and down at Ye Tiance, squinting his eyes and coldly asking, Did you really give the Xiao family the bid? Ye Tiance nodded and said, Exactly. And I only have one condition for you. Get out with your people. Zhang Chunlei frowned. For some reason, he felt an invisible pressure from the man in front of him. He couldn't help feeling a little nervous. Is he? However, at this moment, Ji Budwan, who was lying on the ground, suddenly shouted, Zhang Xiao. He is actually his ex-husband who was kicked out of the house by Xiao Qingcheng. He almost got a divorce certificate. You're a waste. Don't be deceived by him. As soon as these words were spoken, the onlookers immediately ate melons in disgust. Good guy. So he's just a loser who has been eating and drinking in the Xiao family for 3 years. I was almost deceived by him. I thought he was really some big shot. Upon hearing everyone's discussion, Zhang Chunlei breathed a sigh of relief in secret. He turned to Ji Budwan and said with a smile, You dog, are you quite knowledgeable about current affairs? Ji Budwan immediately flattered and said, Hee, this is all I should do. Please don't forget to be a petty person and let me go this time. Zhang Chunlei raised his hand and said, I'll spare your dog's life this time. Feng Lei withdrew the dagger and released Jibuduan. Jibuduan repeatedly thanked Zhang Chunlei, kneeling and licking looks nauseating. Zhang Chunlei glared angrily at Ye Tiance and said, Mother Sheepy, I turned out to be a useless person who pretends to be fat by slapping his face. Why do you speak wildly? Do you know the consequences of playing tricks on me? Ye Tiance shook his head and said, It seems like you don't want to leave with someone? Zhang Chunlei almost burst out laughing. Garbage. When are you still pretending to be coerced in front of me? Or is it that you don't know how to write die? As the words fell, for strong men in black had already approached. One by one, they were full of evil energy, waiting for Zhang Chunlei's command to pounce. Xiao Qingcheng suddenly spoke up and said, Stop it. Zhang Chunlei smiled and asked, Oh, Xiao Marin, what advice do you have? Xiao Qingcheng bit his lips and said, This matter has nothing to do with Ye Tiance. I have already agreed to those 2 conditions and let him go. She said that since she proposed divorce, she will no longer interfere with each other in the future. Therefore, she is unwilling to involve Ye Tiance. Zhang Chunlei hesitated for a moment and nodded, Okay, I'll listen to the beauty. Then he scolded Ye Tiance, Garbage. Did you hear me? Your wife, no. She should be considered a prospective ex-wife to let you go. Why don't you hurry and get out of here? But Ye Tiance remained motionless. Zhang Chunlei smiled eerily and said, Don't leave? I understand now. I heard that you have been married to Xiao Qingcheng for 3 years and have no skin-to-skin relationship, so you want to see the young master sleeping with her. When I finish, how about queuing up at the back? Haha, it's not impossible either. Just kneel down and call me Grandpa. Ha ha ha. The brothers of the Black Tiger Society laughed along. Ye Tiance shook his head and said, You brought this on yourself? Suddenly, he flashed and rushed towards Zhang Chunlei. Lift your right hand and swing it down. Pop. With a heavy slap, Zhang Chunlei was knocked to the ground, his mouth covered in blood. Silence. The entire venue is in a deafening silence. No one expected that Ye Tiance would have the courage to take action against Zhang Chunlei. Jibuduan glared at Ye Tiance and scolded him. Yi, are you crazy? How dare you even beat Xiaozhang? Do you want to drag us all into a pit to die? He quickly went over to help Zhang Chunlei up and asked with concern, Zhang Xiao, are you okay? Zhang Chunlei covered his cheek and spat out a mouthful of blood, but there were actually 2 teeth inside. In an instant, an unstoppable anger surged into the brain. Get out of here. Zhang Chunlei was so angry that he pushed away Jibuduan. His eyes turned red and he shouted in command, Brothers, all go get me. Kill him. I saw all the strong men in black shouting and rushing towards Ye Tiance while surrounding them. Everyone thought that this would be an unquestionable outcome. Reverse, there it is. I saw Ye Tiance just gently raise his hand, clench his fist, and punch. Seemingly slow, but in reality it's as fast as lightning. Bang bang. In less than 3 seconds, more than 10 strong men in black were all overturned to the ground, with a pile of tables, chairs, and benches falling down in the ground in a mess. Ye Tiance was unharmed and never even moved his feet. Everyone present was shocked and their eyes widened. Zhang Chunlei also had an incredulous expression on his face. He quickly gritted his teeth and shouted to Feng Lei, Brother Feng, take care of him and kill him. Feng Lei drew a dagger and quickly stabbed Ye Tiance. Take it to death. Just when the tip of the dagger was only 1 inch away from Ye Tiance, Ye Tiance grabbed his wrist and twisted it hard. With a click, Feng Lei screamed in pain. Ye Tiance ignored it and directly punched Feng Lei on the chin. Bang! The latter's eyes turned white and he fainted on the spot. At this moment, the entire Chamber of Commerce was quiet. Everyone looked at Ye Tiance's gaze, just like looking at a fierce beast, feeling a chill from behind. Xiao Qingcheng opened his mouth slightly, his eyes filled with disbelief. When did he have such skills? A little further away, Han Ruoyun's eyes were shocked. Can this bastard fight so well? Farther away, the pupils of Rong Mei's charming face shrank slightly. This man is a bit interesting. As for Zhang Chunlei at this moment, his whole body trembled and his face turned pale. You should know that Feng Lei is one of Uncle's most capable confidants, with superb skills. Surprisingly, I was defeated with just 1 move. Ye Tiance slowly walked up to Zhang Chunlei, his eyes indifferent, and said, It's your turn now. Tell me, how do you want to die? Zhang Chunlei trembled with fear. He gritted his teeth and threatened, Damn it! Uncle Zhang Xiaohu, you dare to kill me? If he finds out, he will definitely break you to pieces. Ye Tiance sneered, Even if I kill you, Zhang Xiaohu will only kneel and kowtow before me. After all, in the Fallen City, Zhang Xiaohu is at the bottom of the food chain, only suitable for picking feces. Kneeling and kowtowing in front of him is like lifting Zhang Xiaohu. The next second, Ye Tiance will take action against Zhang Chunlei, but was stopped by Xiao Qingcheng's opening. Ye Tiance, that's enough of you. Stop making trouble. Ye Tiance frowned slightly and said, Are you sure I'm causing trouble? I'm helping you. Xiao Qingcheng bit his lip and said seriously, I know, but Zhang Chunlei has a deep background. If you continue like this, you will only harm yourself. Forget it. Ye Tiance asked coldly, Then let's forget everything he did to you before? Xiao Qingcheng lowered his head and remained silent. In the face of absolute strength, what can we do if we don't forget? Ye Tiance sighed and said, Since it's your choice, feel free. He put down his hand. Zhang Chunlei wiped off the blood stains on the corner of his mouth and glared at Ye Tiance unwillingly, saying, "You wait. I will definitely find the venue tonight." Then a group of people quickly left in embarrassment. Everyone present looked worried as the venue was covered in chaos. At this point, there are only 10 minutes left until the start of the Chamber of Commerce, and it's too late to clean up. How should Dragon Lord and that important person explain this scene when they see it later? However, at this moment, Ji Buduan suddenly pointed to Ye Tiance and scolded, "Tonight, the bidding chamber was organized by Lord Long alone, but you messed it up. It's something you don't know how to live or die. How dare you offend Lord Long? Kneel down." Ye Tiance sneered and said, "Just now Zhang Chunlei was causing trouble here. You dare not even fart. You can handle it as soon as someone else leaves. Don't you feel ashamed?" Ji Boden's eyes flashed with embarrassment. On the face, he pretended to be calm and explained, "What do you know? I just did that as a temporary measure to delay time. They will deal with Zhang Chunlei as long as the Dragon Lord and the big shot arrive, and report everything truthfully. You're good to act recklessly and let Zhang Chunlei run away, leaving a mess. How do you want us all to explain to Lord Long? Tell that big shot." This righteous statement has been echoed by the guests present. "You're right. This person surnamed, you will let Zhang Chunlei go. Later on, Lord Long won't be able to see anyone else and will only blame us for our incompetence. That's right. If we ever provoke that big shot again, we'll all follow Ye's example and take the blame." What a prank. At once, there were complaints all over the venue. Ye Tiance, who was still a warrior in their eyes a minute ago, has now become the culprit disrupting the Chamber of Commerce. Ye Tiance looked at the group of clowns jumping over bridges and sneered, "A group of cowards who dare not offend the Black Tiger Society, so they use me as a scapegoat. It's ridiculous." He was well aware that none of the guests present wanted to take the blame. "So I'll blame him, who seems to have the least background." Ji Buduan looked serious and said, "Those surnamed Yi, don't talk nonsense. We are here to share the worries of Lord Long, without any selfish intentions. It's you, kneeling down now to admit your mistake. Perhaps there is room for maneuver. Otherwise, Dragon Lord will be furious, and you will be shattered to pieces. Why don't you kneel down?" Ye Tiance took a step forward and said coldly, "Do you want me to kneel? You're not qualified enough." At this moment, a gray suit man stepped forward. "Ji Daso is not qualified, and what about Li Jingya, the chairman of Ningyuan Group?" he said with a lofty attitude. Ye Tiance shook his head and said, "Not enough." Then, a man in a Zhongshan suit approached and threatened, "Oh, and what about adding me, the chairman of Hongda Group, Xiebin?" Ye Tiance sneered, "A group of stinky fish and rotten shrimp is far from enough." Such an attitude shocked all the guests present. You should know that both Ningyuan Group and Hongda Group have significant influence in Jiangnan City, second only to the three major families, and can be called the top-tier entities in Jiangnan City. However, in Ye Tiance's eyes, these two chairmen, along with Ji Buduan, are just stinky fish and rotten shrimp. This kid is really arrogant. At this moment, Xiao Qingcheng quickly stepped forward and shouted coldly, "Ye Tiance, you're done? Hurry up and shut up." Ye Tiance squinted his eyes and asked, "Do you also think it's my fault?" "I." Xiao Qingcheng certainly wouldn't think so. Let her speak up in front of so many people. It's like showing off the faces of Ji Buduan and those two chairmen. Nowadays, the Xiao family is in a critical period of rise and must not offend anyone. She reminded Ye Tiance, "You go quickly. This Chamber of Commerce is not the place you can continue to stay." Ye Tiance calmly said, "Why did I have to leave? I didn't do anything wrong." Xiao Qingcheng exclaimed urgently, "Why don't you know what's wrong with you? When Dragon Lord and that big shot arrive later, what explanation will you give? I'm helping you. Don't you understand?" Ye Tiance said calmly, "I don't need anyone to help me." Xiao Qingcheng was so angry that his chest rose and fell one after another, and he hated the iron for not becoming steel. He said, "If you don't need it, then you don't need it. I'm too lazy to bother with you." Assistant Sun scolded, "Ye Tiance, if you want to seek death, then seek death. Don't drag on our general manager Xiao." Ji Buduan saw all of this in his eyes, and a cold smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. "I made a fool of myself in the hands of Zhang Chunlei before, and I must find it back from Ye Tiance." He scolded, "You, surnamed Yi, are causing trouble in the venue, talking nonsense, and can't even run away if you want. Just wait and hand over your life." I saw Ye Tiance walking directly to the main table at the center of the venue in front of everyone. Take out a chair casually and sit down confidently. The indifferent gaze swept over the crowd and said, "I can't run, and I'm just sitting here. I'd like to see who's present who can make me give up my life." This action is like pushing everyone to the opposite side, with a sense of one man handling the situation. A little further away, Han Ruoyun couldn't help but nibble his lips lightly. This bastard, anyone dares to offend? Is he crazy? Farther away, Rong Meiyan held her cheeks with one hand, her eyes full of curiosity. She wants to see what this interesting guy really wants to do. Compared to others, the other guests in the venue broke through their defenses one by one and couldn't help but curse angrily. "Stinky kid, get out of here. That spot is specifically reserved for Dragon Lord and the big shots behind him. Extremely arrogant. It's hard to die. I've been in the business world of Jiangnan City for 30 years, and it's the first time I've met such an arrogant person. I can't keep him." Faced with public condemnation, Ye Tiance remained calm and even crossed his legs. Disdainful, he said, a group of cowards who shrink their eggs when they hear the name of the Black Tiger Club. I really don't understand why Zhao Hailong is hosting a business association. What's the use of inviting you trash over? As soon as these words were spoken, the anger in the entire venue surged even more. If it weren't for Ye Tiance's skill, someone might have already rushed up and started rough. Seeing this scene, Xiao Qingcheng's eyes flashed with a hint of worry. She wants to go over and persuade Ye Tiance to stand up, not to provoke everyone's anger anymore. But he was stopped by Ji Buoduan. Qingcheng, this kid is in conflict with the property owners present. It's his own death. Don't get yourself involved. Xiao Qingcheng said displeased. You don't need to worry about my affairs. Ji Buoduan knew that she was angry about the previous incident. Immediately explained, the reason why I said that earlier was actually not to escalate the conflict, ruin tonight's bidding chamber, and ruin your 10 billion order. Moreover, I had anticipated that Zhang Chunlei was just talking nonsense. He didn't dare to bully you at all. After all, you were the winning bidder chosen by that big shot. Can he change it? That's why I couldn't bear to stand up for you. Assistant Sun also agreed, Mr. Xiao, I believe in Ji Daso. After all, it's all Ye Tiance's fault. If it weren't for him, Ji Dasho's plan would have been successful long ago. Xiao Qingcheng still had some disbelief and said, but I don't understand why Ye Tiance dared to risk himself to save me? Ji Buoduan pouted and said, where did he save you? He clearly harbors a grudge against you for proposing a divorce, deliberately speaking and acting recklessly at the Chamber of Commerce. The real purpose is to destroy the Chamber of Commerce, prevent the Xiao family from winning the bid, and obtain a 10 billion yuan order. Ye Tiance, who heard this explanation, I had to shake my head and smile and say, Ji Buoduan, sometimes I can't tell if you have a brain pit or if you have a big brain. You can even think of such reasons amazing. Ji Buoduan said with a calm face, every word I say is true. Not only me, but also the other guests present can see your petty heart. Li Jingya, chairman of Ningyuan Group, nodded and said, the heart of a petty person is well known to everyone. Xiebin, chairman of Hongda Group, scolded, using despicable means to destroy Mr. Zhao's 10 billion yuan order is despicable. The others also joined in and belittled Ye Tiance. Xiao Qingcheng took a deep breath and asked seriously, Ye Tiance, is this really the reason why you acted recklessly tonight? Answer me. Ye Tiance sneered at himself, Xiao Qingcheng, even now you still say I'm acting recklessly. So, even if I give you more answers, will you believe me? Xiao Qingcheng felt a slight pain in his heart. Assistant Sun was dissatisfied and said, Yi, are you blaming Mr. Xiao for this? If it weren't for her free eating, drinking, and supporting you for 3 years, you would have. Xiao Qingcheng raised his hand to interrupt Assistant Sun's words. She bit her lips and said seriously, can you stop making trouble? For the sake of our marital relationship, as long as you agree to stand up and apologize to everyone present, I will find a way to speak for you in front of Dragon Lord and that big shot to save your life. After we finish getting our divorce certificate tomorrow morning, we'll be completely separated.